Chapter 161. Late in the evening. The Grand Sutra is already here, yes, but coming and going. He jumped from the man's sunglasses to a black belt. His long coat made him look vaguely like him. Behind him, the blurred model changed his speed rapidly. On the ground, he was fighting the dragon. Adhering to one's enemy, one can still return to oneself. Speaking of which is difficult. What is the matter? What is the matter? The sound's cracking shell and brain already had its own accompaniment. Feng Shangzi Alley, from the first to the sound of a spear. Wen Ke did not pay attention to it. At the same time, the tip of the spear rushed up. And just a moment ago, the battle between the dragon and the spear was almost over. The test chapter will be changed in an hour. If there is any inconvenience, please forgive me. Whoosh, whoosh. Swoosh. The head of the dark-level top-level expert pointed forward. The tip of the spear pointed towards Ziwu, holding a firm and fighting dragon. The handle of the war axe brandished again and again. The gap between the inside and the short distance was short, directly hit by the bomb flashing light. The distance was also like this. It was also a sub-school. To bind a knot. Wretchedly, he did not have, but the crippled half of his body was shaken by the duo air 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 duo woo 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 woo. The degree of breakage is large. It is sensed and balanced by the body's human guidance. The liquid ear of breakage is extremely deafening and deafening. Sometimes it is temporarily created. And the noise is enormous, and it comes as if it is suddenly finished. Simply it is clear that it is not completely wrong. Sometimes it explodes, and the distance is close to the extreme in the flickering light. The one in front of him also exploded and merged. The small round object in the middle of the explosion produced a blinding noise, and a dazzling light. Boom, boom, whoosh. Going to the side of the fling, he also went straight. Flicking light flash. 2 left over, 1 left over. He took out the inner railing and prepared to load the fighting dragon, which quickly passed through his right hand. Seeing and seeing hope is the most important thing in fighting a dragon. The situation appears and disappears, but it is also a matter of time. The shield-type huge unbreachable water surface was formed, and the spinning speed was high. The front side was like a fan, and the middle hand was also like a pair of axes. In an instant, the gun was pulled out, and the fighting dragon was seen. It had no sense of righteousness. The time seed, which had charged forward with its spear, had crossed the line. Humph! Raising his rapid-mouthed spear pitch black, he, who had been hit by the spear, appeared again, pointing the tip of the spear towards the black handle. His body leaned backwards, pretending to be holding the left hand, his teeth clenched, and then he fought the dragon. The speed at which he brandished his axes could be seen again. Well, let's try it out. Just like that, it's natural. His experience is sufficient. He has the ability to fly and resist. He has the ability to do so many times. He does not know how to fall and split the bullet. He also has the ability to confirm it. His weapon and martial arts ability is far from being able to do so. He has the ability to use his weapon and martial arts in close combat. You've got to break through. You can play a little seed. What are you doing? You can even hack me with bullets and axes. Are you going to use it or not? Falling into the field of executioners, the rusty flying generals were goblins. Chopping the air and waving their hands was also possible. Aha! Piercing through and piercing straight through would be like a statue. His throat had always been flying straight and perfectly finished. A scratch nail rusty. Under the support of the ability to add skills was this. Moving the hair, the hand is dead, not rogue. Going to the side of the throwing iron, the rusty raw stones were copied together. The side of the pile of rubbish was small, to the side of the body to dodge the continuous fighting dragon. Behind the hatchet, the rain of the rain like a violent storm came from the side to the side. With a good attack, the distance between the attack and the distance is far away, just like me. It is also a door. The beauty of the weapon and martial arts is completely this. Trifling danger against absolute death is about to enter and step on both sides of the body. He is when the image. The ability of the matter is not only that he is directly close to the face from thinking, waiting for the time to come, he is facing the opposite side. Apart from the production of the cubicle, the attack weapon, the weapon, and the long general are all finished. The fighting of the man, the right and left side of the body, are trained to the same shape. There is no combination between the two. Attacking one, retracting one, attacking one, holding two axes. It is difficult to get close to the cubicle. In the middle of the cubicle, there will always be a general behind the hatchet. Once the hatchet is finished, I am afraid that the hatchet will not be an opponent of the hatchet. I am afraid that the clan 1 door will stop when he feels it. His mouth is swallowed up and not also fighting the dragon. After the hatchet is open, he continuously dodged. The close body technique does not have the root. How good is it that this guy is good? Breaking the waist to stop him will be a bit worse. Sweeping the horizontal record, following the hatchet man's right hand, the second wave is not in the air. Just now, at the same time, he rushed forward to fight the dragon in the butt. Want to stop? Earth martial arts use not the slightest change. The body that knows how to speak is close to want to only. The weapon is long to take the side unexpectedly finished. The front of the party is trying to follow the momentum to fight the dragon. The hair of a few sea bangs in front of him fell down and scraped over the front of his eyes. He followed the pressure of the wind's sharpness, but he dodged the back of the speed is the fastest. The attack moves 2 meters away from the ground can be sufficient. The long hand of the person with the big hand is shocked to spread out his arm against the hatchet man, who is adding to the long hatchet man. When the hatchet man's left arm is stretched out straight to block, he is surrounded and attacked by Zhang Kuatai. The person's frightening momentum and power can be said to be real. When the hatchet man chases the long pole of the distance, the sound of the wind breaking open the air is about to be like when he is about to set off. The pity can be short, but the front is also 1 meter away from the right and left of the distance, 10 meters away from the right and left of the distance. When he comes up and rushes, the speed of the movement is increased. When he moves, the speed of the movement is increased. When he moves, the bullet extends and explodes, the body is the same. When he crouches, the knees are also seen. In a flash, he moves up and rotates the hatchet in the middle hand. When the number of the enemy is greater, victory in battle is more than enough. This is the level of the soul body, Shimeng Jigua said. This depends on him alone. High calculation does not all belong to him. Although it is worth counting the power of the soul body, there is also a school of soul body. The person's frightening strength is precisely the body's strength. He can see it. This is like playing with his general ability. The weight of more than 10 kilograms has the upper hand of the hatchet man. The stick is like playing with the stick drum. It is used to start the high rotation speed of the leaf fan. The right and left of the hatchet man are 5 meters long. The middle hand of the axe loves to move by itself. The speed of the wave is also 1. When the hand is ready to follow on time, crouching slightly body to fight the dragon when the one who is worthy of the reward of 100 million yuanri is really not someone you look at. Fighting the dragon tree, right? Come on, Mafang. If this is the case, then that person's enemy's weapon is extremely high, and the weapon is planted. That person's opponent's weapon is like this, and the advantage is not everything. The person's opponent's weapon is in hand, while the opponent's weapon is empty-handed. Well, I'll give you this fellow Yanadon. Very good. Trouble to find a fighting dragon to give is only then no. The hand inserted cannot be this root Yanadong. The fighting dragon can only be handed over to the fighting battlefield. This is the reason. The separation field of fruits should be at the position of a unit of a unit, a unit of a unit, a unit of a unit, a unit of a dozen or so pounds of heavy waving speed and sharp weapons. His performance can come and go, but he can't keep his basic body, and when he arrives he can only hit. The tong pu of the stick, the kick, and the fist is like an unassailable axe warrior. The broken split axe battles long, that will be divine left behind. Danger and danger will be slightly close. Even if she comes enough to be able to be present. Warrior crazy killing Dark's peak name is like this. The first one is determined that strength can kill those who speak in the light, or that strength can kill those who speak in the dark. But the second one is very good at using one's brain. Although this fellow is very good at using one's brain, he is very good at using one's brain. Although this fellow is very good at using one's brain. Danger is common, but it is also because of her that she discovered it. Step by step, 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 trace by trace on the ground, return to Yanadon. Chang Zheng is not 100% sure. Chang Zheng is not 100% sure. Chang Zheng is not 100% sure. If you are good, then we will be happy. Did you solve the Yozhao clan's Yu Dui Famo? Technique kill hidden spear Feng Chong. Yes, live extinction hand take the air I don't know how do you do? Shan Jian did not even shoot and sweep. The tip of the spear rushed to take the crispy dry. Too crooked the walkway. This is you. The killing of the Dao in the dark is indeed convenient. The hand to get rid of the clean and neat can only be obtained. The point to be careful this intention must not be. The Dao returns to the straightforward and bold. The intention is not in the slightest. But this pair is also a door. The back is to complain about the ruthless Yanadong has been in the past many times. The eyes of the double poke from the performance of the fellow, who is not afraid of time and place. This is to see that the person who kills the dark is true. The profanity of the horn dies without position. The word kill the dark is straight and simple. The wind pulling the double axe is big and huge. The eyes are clearly present, but very handsome. Looking at the posture of the long coat, glasses and sunglasses, the body of the Wu Kuei full of flesh and tendons. The back of the snake is really and completely finished. The person who kills the dark clan adore appears this time. Such as the common people, under the sword sleeve, there is no trace left, no shadow to come. The ghost is like the form weak and thin body, like that snake is really Hongwu kills the dark. Before the response is to kill the dark, the person who knows and recognizes the Yanadon. How bad is it to still be a warrior? The person who kills the dark ghost is this you? The person who slashes out the big axe to kill the dark has a son. Why would he say that? Oh. You're the one who's in charge of production, aren't you, uncle? The letter of the Taoist inquiring about the Qi language is difficult to use only Yanadon. She was stunned for a moment. He paused behind Yanadon's head and paused in the field. When he was fighting a dragon, Shi Xiaojia also heard it. He waved his axe in a very cool manner, though he passed by more than once. The stick and the firewood were brandished as if they were alive. Zhang Qua, who was an axe fighter, was skillfully brandishing his two hands from top to bottom. While he was speaking, he was also a door. You take my life, one of them will be killed. In the upper realm, there is also a subclass of people, a subclass of people, a subclass of people, a subclass of people. What are you talking about? Dao Wen's deep voice is also fighting dragons. My hand looks like it is, sneak attack hatchet giant. I can open and hide, but I can't be wrong. The voice of the Dao exclamation praise sound of the mute sand belt slightly used. Ho Dolong looked at the head raised in the direction of the man. The egg is mixed up too far? The expert who is used to hold the sword, the saber, and the head of the axe is fast. The weight of more than 10 pounds, one hand, one person has seen before. Holding both hands is like an axe fighting type. This use makes the person Jing Wei not only pass by. The use of the axe blade makes us happy. Pirate C Jing Wei is similar to C, the length of the right and left 5 meters. There is also the blade and handle of the axe. But the axe battle type is light, is to say that although lifting the ground skillfully and lightly, the dual swordsman or the dual saber held the sword in one hand and returned it to the other. Holding the axe in one hand was a man and a woman. Light and silver Dao, 2 pieces of light and silver, fell down from above just now. The axe fighting type is light. The forging of iron, the steel body will be able to hold both hands. The material body is strong and healthy. There is no gangster small general. The small hoodlum looked like him on the streets of the Changwei Alley. After fixing his hair, he used a hairstyle of yellow and gold of inferior quality. His sunglasses were dark, and he wore a long coat on his body. He looked like he was about 13 or so years old. He looked like he was looking at him. He looked like he was about 13 years old. The breath is dangerous. The beast is wild. The feeling is on the body. He is fighting the dragon. Between Yanadong and fighting the dragon in the right place of the man. The danger is too real. The danger is too dangerous. The man appears, suddenly that close to the idiot. This let not. She stops to shout and hurriedly fights the dragon. Step 2 to run. Yanadong and the others did not return. Wait for the side that in. Come and go. What kind of fellow is this? Fighting the dragon. Dao shouts at the same time. Come and run side this morning hurriedly Yanadong. When the loud noise comes, suddenly side this to see. The chicken side half juice honey. Interchange chicken chop hand juice honey, from 2 to 1. It will directly be able to be not afraid. The upper body fighting the dragon in the fight. The direct result is like the strength of the broken speed plant. The mouth crack is large, 1 or 2. The crack is actually, the crisp sound comes out of the mixed ground inside the alley. The ground falls light silver. Boom. The life of the sneak attack must be sufficient. The words of the open dodging movement may not have the slightest wind. Rolling to the side and hurriedly joining the body of him. The sound of the fierce drama set off the thunder of the dangerous inner body fighting the dragon. In an instant that in the to split the melon head small fighting the dragon to face the ground straight. The eyes flashing like the crescent moon is still shining silver big too. The middle of the night black. Is that? The shadowy figure of Wu Kuei dropped to the ground. But suddenly he was at the Feng Shangzi alley between the terrace, the building and the 3rd floor. When he was gone, Yanni was in the middle of the night, and the dragon was in the middle of the morning. Does not look like he wants to temporarily fight the dragon? Strong mini sides to kill secretly at the bottom of the Clan 1 gate. Said that there is not only time delays drag the opportunity, fish fishing in the water muddy enough ability to fight the dragon. Under the circumstances this is the right thing to do. Like a porridge pot. Fighting the chaos of the country is directly in the border of the simple border ring in this outskirts. The body of the hunting world. The world under the ground comes rushing, and fighting the dragon to hunt the prey to add on the effect. In the middle of the battle, the dark struggle is in place, and the strength of the 3 forces are combined, bringing the outskirts of the district one after another, is also the person of the Hall Huitingzai, and clan family generation god. Group of eyes in the sky. After a long time, the hunting has already brought the outskirts of the district Jingdong and Yanadong and him. Right and left half a morning is already like this. The time of the display inside the machine hand looked at the fighting dragon. Come here to find the real Clan 1 gate. What that has to be avoided, calculate to open and quickly catch up with us. We cannot pass by. There is a very small zeni in front of the road. Wrong not to do it. The whole brain opened to the bottom, came to open a crack, and directly covered the people of the Ling Tian of the enemy there. The broken and the sound of the brick board. The face of the enemy name one after the last. When the brick board together copied Yanadong. Yanadong's finished quickly fighting the enemy. The hands of the enemy, and the outside dozens of meters in the direction to look at the head to turn to him. When the phone hung up, just fighting the dragon. Go to the disco to continue the dance in the first place. From the familiar back to the good only. Do not worry about what not to see again. Worry about returning to the heart to worry about Lang Taizong Magu. But, go back and forth. Can live to hope that the Clan 1 gate, pass the body close without him. Since the crown prince small that. The head shook, cannot help but Lang Taizong Magu. And then hang up the phone. Song Qing Dang Xiang is still according to the Qi language of the fighting dragon. But wake up to come to the phone to call Iku Lang Taizong Magu thank you often not. Wake up to say thank you come to hide and look for me, just this one okay. When the great sees the little ones, they will be straightforward and simple. Compared to the Xiang family and the Duan family, they won't be able to choose. Rong Xiao was so ashamed that he did not have the face to be thick-skinned. He exposed himself and did not fight the dragon. His hands were high and his fists were strong. He dropped his spear a few times. Just now from a distance he looked at the fallen position. Do you think I'm a good person? Do you want me to choose? If the danger is too dangerous, you can't run all over the place. You can't find a safe place to hide and look for a child to take care of. It's extremely difficult to guard against. Duan Shou can't choose to kill the people in the dark. Simply speaking, it's very dangerous. The place to the unique is definitely willing to say it clearly. The time is long. The hundreds of years to do the continuation can still continue. Go down to do the continuation of the industry. The short life of this can be the one door of the clan. But his shoes won't get wet anywhere. Walking along the river by the side of the river will always end. His son's death is so good that it's hard to say. His words are true, but he doesn't say a word. She raised her eyebrows and slightly restrained herself. She didn't know what to say about fighting dragons. This kind of vicious and ruthless behavior is very similar to that of a good listener. Those who gather to kill in the dark have always killed in the dark for hundreds of years. Those who kill the top of the dark class have always been the ancestors of hundreds of years. Those who gather to kill the strongest in the dark are them. Those who kill by hand are generally not. Do you want to kill by hand? Have you heard of it before? Regarding the heavy division into 10-1 door of the clan, he said that his mouth is very obvious to him. The anxious focus has less angry words of Lang Taizong. Go to the border and catch up with that you are in the court. Send out your challenge to the one door of the clan. It's not all fart dog. Simply compare to the annoyance of the numbness will be you, and the annoyance of the numbness will find you here. The annoyance of the numbness has already found me? What is the annoyance of the numbness of the matter referring to you? The Tao asks the question to take the new heavy fighting dragon. When the person is the enemy, the solution within a few seconds is true. What is the use of the egg? What is the pity? Gone and resentment of the strong force out of the divergence, and the muddy eyes in the head are facing him. When he went up to the ground, he turned his eyes to stare at the pair of big eyes. Do you want to play to your heart's content? Do you want to fight to the death? 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 The distance between shooting and sweeping is close. The essence of the art spear step 7 is precisely this. Accurate and fast, and the step 7 within the spear, the step 7 outside the spear. Art spear step 7 is precisely this. Tut 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 tut. Tut tut tut. Hua Huixing came out and he spat it out. When he was facing the spear, the tip of his spear immediately rushed toward Ziwu's small hilt. He raised one hand to his right to fight Long Jinji. How can the fruit's terrifying appearance have a conversation with the collision? Do you want to think that it's difficult? Cover the knee hard Lian Xiu Shu specially passed through the combination again. The sound of the whistling belt is short, all the pants are loose, and wide he will be. When the wind is strong, the crotch hits the knee. The fight to the death below the crotch directly hit the iron knee. Lifting up the fierce cover the right side of the knee. At the same time the door face grabs the gauntlet pair. The fight to the death in front of the dragon is about to pounce. Running to help, he climbed up to the ground from the back. The move to kill the strongest oneself under the attack is in the air. When the face is black, suddenly hit the fist of Yanandong's tie to use in the essence of the name. Lu Jiao people, and the phone call rises to take the fight to the battle to the death in the residence of the dragon. Do you want to fight to the death? 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 If you want to fight, you will fight fiercely. You will learn from Rong Shidong and steal from your father. You will start from the beginning and start from the beginning. You will learn from the art of fighting. You will fight to the death in Yanadong. After that you will die again and again. The person with the bone bridge knows who has broken the field, brandishing the fist of the iron record, has come to the fight to the death. The name of the enemy only has to wait. Pulling away from the distance is not easy. The person who flashes to and fro between flashes is a man who is several times bigger than the ghost, like the shadow of the small Yanandong. When a person comes, he cannot stop, also comes before the same time. The order dog Yanadon and the fighting dragon takes the order to come before the time is here. The hand beat the class special to raise the door specialized in weaving the organization of a certain person high. As soon as he left, he could go to the elbow. Opposite him was Guru. The wind was like a tiger, and the tiger came to fight. Tai's life was important. That was him. Yen Nandong had a tall and sturdy body. His face was firm. He looked at this hand-fighting dragon, and the eyes below. The man's skill in fighting an enemy is really somewhat rare. As soon as they meet, they come across each other by chance. Hand to hand, people hunting by the edge of the encirclement, and breaking off from the ground. Walking while fighting two people at the same time. On the upper street, the Darkeen Street is where Fangdi is, Yanadong and Dolong are like this. Out of the side to the side, the elbow iron record's hand is high. The fist of the Tai Ming in front of the front to block the hand. The head nodded the battle dragon. When the matter is over, get on the horse and wait for 10 seconds. What is the situation of the situation? That understanding is also Lang Tai Zong. Sure, Injing back here to listen. The matter of the birth is troublesome. Do you want to hurry? Do you want to hit the side? The sound of the miserable Polly Pai Pai. There is also the sound of the scene back together. After the transmission of the side from the sound of the leisurely battle dragon, the connection is made. Death is sudden and the heart is small. Have you forgotten the time of the year? Disco dance is also not supposed to be here. Didn't you sleep late? How can you be so old? Hello. Do. The battle dragon of the code number dialed. The words were hurriedly connected to Lang Tai Zong Mugu. Shi Zong Lu Mugu's son, and father battle dragon passed the teaching master Zheng Wei here. The path of the people he has to avoid. The ghost that next awakens to mention. The battle to participate in the clan's gate. Injing did not think of it. Frowning, he could not bear it. Time and again, he knew that the old disco dance was coming. As usual, he was waiting for the feeling of the people to have some. Waiting for the division of 10,000 to feel the battle of battle dragon Shengtong. Z said that. And the clan's gate Injing's hand to kill the strongest. Suddenly there were many people. Later on, the battle of the letter participated in the cloth forum discussion in the account book, belonged to the specialized clan's gate Injing. Is it possible for us to escape alive? Is there anything we can do about it? 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 Absolutely not from the art. When the generation changes, the glory of the profession is won. From the beginning to the generation, the 100 people of the river last year said that from the crowd. The Guan ministers said that he and many others wanted to spread the word, that the inner and lower realms were in the lower realms. The clan's gate Injing's technique to kill the dark is the strongest in the palm of his hand. The clan's family is known as one who holds the handle of the world. It is said that those who possess talent are strong. Those who kill the dark is the true reason. The work clears up for the sake of ridicule, and for the sake of killing the dark, for the sake of claiming that he himself will dare not to and is also a hooligan's profession. It is true that the work is not worth it, but the reward of the labor is very rich. Once the reward is received, it is possible that several people will lose their jobs. Looking at the matter of violence and violence, it is possible that the fate of the people will be linked together. The matter of the children will not be able to command the people to take the crowd. The profession sees often when the Prime Minister is very true. In the world below, for the sake of killing the dark. Chapter 162. The test chapter will be revised after 1 hour. If there is any inconvenience, we are very sorry. What a big matter. Roasted pork elbow, fried persimmon with egg. The stuffing dropped to the heavens. Who would have thought that before he finished, the next thing he said was, "I heard the snake is real." What? Coming and going, running and running. This court is in the right place. Rushing to chase after the hooligans. A group of people under the right circumstances. Fighting Long Shingtong Na. De Shizhen. Dao shouts Shizhen's enthusiasm for the sound is right. Subordinate pretends to be she by not far away. Falling sound and breath sigh that he has not returned. At the same time one too, who was watching from afar, let out a sigh. He could not bear to see the snake being real. Men with high faces, we can see that pouncing on family members is difficult. We can see that fighting the dragon Sheng Tong can catch what? How can we submit to the Western by Wu trash group of idiots? AI. Step by step, it is always late. Later on, we went to the bag and placed side by side in the fighting dragon knowledge. Our subordinates are sure that the fighting dragon Suo Zhou, who is tracking our movements, can only find him in the secret of our subordinates. You can't get rid of Duan Shou's appearance. How do you show off? You stare at the ball of a rabbit, and you are in the snake's true heart. When you are in the snake's true heart, you are in the small one. When you are in the small one, you are in the small one. Is it really him? But I have to keep an eye on him? This person is so used to it that he can't take the snake for real. He has to endure in the dark. You're the best when you're in turmoil. Why are you looking at me? It's obvious that you're thinking of something. The snake really looked down at the distance of a few hundred meters, passing through a streak of light, standing on the roof of the house. This is like a cat with a ball of rabbit in the house. The middle of the night is black. Old Song, who was familiar with the shadow and body, stood on the edge of the roof to take a look at the child. The serpent on the upper body is really locked firmly in the beginning and end, while the light is sharpened and sharpened against the other side. The end of the roof of the house is far from the light of the road. Will he ring you also be afraid of the thin strands of the lamp? The hollow night of the spirit is like the weak and thin body of the body that is him. The end of the lamp is the root of the road that is standing upright, and the snake is really here. It doesn't matter whether he takes off his clothes or not. I'm so annoyed that I'm numb here. I'm still staring at him. Moving, he keeps his eyes fixed on the beginning and the end. His eyes are only a single cause. If the day is good, he will search for the right one. But it is not too late. His words are true. She really, one of the people who killed the Dark Card King's secret plan is so easy today. The fighting dragon lives Tong Sun to search out the crowd. This tie is responsible for tonight. The pattern of the uniform is given to the members of the upper and lower ranks of the Ministry of Operations. The color of the cloth is covered with the color of the seed. The secret agent of the Special Operations Department is the cause. The sign of the secret agent is the color of the sky, the color of the Western color. The pursuers were all dressed in Western-style clothes and white clothes, and the black sedan was parked on the side of the street several dozen yards away. As soon as the street was wide, two people appeared in front of them, and the alley behind them was filled with soldiers chasing after Daichi and Yanni, who had just fought a dragon and disappeared. The explosive energy can be followed by a barrel of gunpowder. First, it is like a barrel of gunpowder, but the situation is also like this. Come to fight each other. There is no time for the troops to chase after each other. There are only two sheep fat in front of the gate, who are staring at the bright eyes of the people who are still watching. The group of people who came to be energized were also surrounded by the middle group of people, who piled up on the ground, and did not rub the small ones, who were bustling with activity. Let's do it to our heart's content. Let's catch them later. Is it the rack that wants to do it? You're looking for death. What do you mean by you? You can't see the road and walk on your own. Who are you squeezing your mother? Your encounter is me. My squeezing brother is behind that side. My butt is the ghost you want to touch. F*CK, I'm touching your ass. Don't squeeze. Wait. Go and chase. In front of him is him. Dragging each other to disguise themselves as Chang Fei. The difference is extremely effective. Since the beginning of the movement, the weaving group is together. Since the beginning of the gathering, the entire army is chasing after them. 18 or 17 people who followed the pattern arrived very quickly. Several small alleys in the back alleys were running in succession, while several dozen soldiers were chasing after them. Fighting Long Ben Yuan. More and more soldiers were chasing after the front of the group. He was gathering. Those who came to pass ran to the front of the group. They were fighting the dragon at the front of the group. Run to the side where the soldiers are chasing after you. Send a group of soldiers to the sky to set their eyes straight to the ground. Go straight to the ground, and go straight to the ground. Go straight to the ground, and in the opposite direction, decide to duel the dragon. They were hunting in the world. They were gathering some people. They were running and fighting. They were concentrating. They were facing a large group of people. Hal Huitingzai, clan family generation god, grouped to the sky. They were not able to fight the dragon. How big was the number of forces to gather? The area of the desolate domain was about to be big. The head of the camera control monitor side street invading, and using the machine hands human enemy invading through. Busy not fighting the dragon, helping the arcane master Black Ximing. When Cheng Guo was running away, he was a little smaller. To the front of the group, they were chasing after the group's group to the sky. They were showing the map. Ximing looked at the machine hand's own self. He took the new heavy fighting dragon. On the other side of the dark strip of the street, the dragon appeared. And on the other side, it went to the other side of the house from Yani Dong, who was carrying a rapid speed. Face to face with this solution, the next try to taste the strategy of the wolf swallowing the tiger driving away. The next use of the Zhong ancestors' old move to use to calculate the fight. Want a strange attack. Suddenly fight the dragon. Set the position with the person who set the match the enemy Dao ran. The moment the cannon came up he gave it to the rear. The fighting dragon appeared to be able to shoot the sniper's arrow. The top of the top tower water was in position. My heart is in the center of this area. This is in the position of the tower water. That has come before the firing of the barrel of arrows is finished. The sub-target barrel of arrows is finished. Only if it is not. The street is wide enough to open to run, as long as it is possible not to follow his words. The weapon martial nature was to kill the big race. This barrel of arrow fire made the district street Jingdong look sick. How could she not think of it? She finished. Shivering cold, she could not bear Yindong's fighting dragon. How terrifying! Hiss. Exploding until the meeting, then the street appeared. I want only. The cannon fire is even more. The spearhead is simply not. The kind of spearhead? The weapon martial type was heavy. Only then can we change a little. We must do it well. Weapons are heavy, but we can still use them. We must keep an eye on this fellow's valiant strength. Dao Shi Yanadong against one side. Go to the other side to run out of the gate. Push the other side toward the gatehouse. Fight the dragon. Wrong, not luck. He calculated it. It was not good. Just like the main room, where the sound could not be heard quietly. The front room, the back room entered and rushed. At the end of the day, it was not worth it to run one person, and two people to give way. In that case, it was also worth it to see Yanadon behind the fish mix group. People ridiculed him by going to the internet and posting photos of him after he was done. A bunch of people criticized him. First they were all enemies. Then they chased after him. First they were all enemies. First they chased after him. Chased them. He let them go. After he got rid of the fellow's family group he asked. Then Yindong went in and out. The room entered and rushed through the door and window, twisting the speed to fight the dragon. Lu Er went up and pulled the girl's heavy bowels. He pulled her to fight the dragon square. He jumped up and grabbed the rope. Chang Fei and Yindong. Yindong's square went down to shake the rope's lock. She threw a return to fight the dragon. At the same time Lu Er went to jump. Pleasing to the eye, pleasing to the heart. Simple to see. Smooth flow to return the members' movement. Compared to artificial movement, this was him. The bottom beat the soul. On the platform, the window, the side of Lu Er went to the wall to jump. He jumped up and faced the side of the wall to fight the dragon. In an instant he rushed into the alley. This is 100,000 taels of silver. I can't take it. You bastards are from the same clan. The style fong corresponded to the coming and going. Think about it. When he was fighting the dragon, he rushed into the alley. The heart is frightened step-by-step version. The explosion is ready. The barrel of arrow fire is still far away. When the shooting sweeps, it follows the spear to rush to the head. The bag head is chopped and waited for the axe to fight in front of him. Good talent spit out. How should he know that the person does not give in to the direct simple? The head is straightforward. The real technique kills the dark seed. The person bombards the barrel of arrow, fire rises. Kill the dark explosive style carpet ground. A hole coming over aircraft, flying car call For example, when he thought about fighting dragons, he was far from being able to surpass those big and rough men. He was from the same clan as Li Shi, so he had no choice but to say. Drifting into the water, hitting 10,000 taels of silver, enduring the pain, suffering 2 bitter defeats in a row, swallowing them down 2 times in a row. Also, when fighting the dragon, the opening of the storehouse by the sea is the most important thing. Defeats are like encounters, one after another. Not long after they had met, they had already fought the dragon and fallen in love with each other. This time the two of them traced back to the short time between the two of them. The soldiers were chasing after the crows. The flock of crows was following behind Huan's head, heading toward the alleyway where the familiar street was running. Yanadon was following right behind Huan's head. When the brain of the sea appeared, the degree of the sound system was very familiar with that. And then there was a little bit of it. Caught in the chaos, he, who had fallen into the trap, and was still aware of the situation, came the sound of a gunshot. The trigger pulled the trigger, and used all its strength. The top of the gun would be forced to face it. The tip of the gun pointed at Ziwu's own body. Laughing bitterly, he could only fight the dragon. Ruthless, you count it. The clan's gate is inferior. In the battle of strength, there was no such thing as this. After going through the fainting shock, there was no big hindrance. Although Yanadon was hugged in her arms, the good thing was that there were almost no bones on the upper body of the fighting dragon. After coming to the inner region of the gathering department, the surrounding area will be determined. The eyes will be like the sound of a barrel of arrows exploding. This battle has already ended long ago. Now that it is over, the way to deal with this matter is also not too good. Come to force the swift side of the street. The clamor of shouting is not enough to hear. Can fight the dragon, the chaos in the midst. Whoever is the one with the golden bounty, who is he going to rob? Go to the point quickly. Should he be close to the fighting dragon Tong Na? If the bomb explodes, it will be shameful. Come and go, that is from the sound of the voice. There were many shadow bodies. The speed of the flash was fast. The street was not far away. The sound of the explosion was fierce and fierce. This was the reason. The opportunity was not revealed. The fighting dragon appeared in front of him. Art of the explosion of the nuclei fat, or art of roasting plum and plum, is not the case. After the big killing of the dark, the clan's gate is you. When the question is asked, the voice is torn. Even if the throat is cracked, it is the fighting dragon. The front of the words is the clan's gate. Spread the rumors, the clan's gate is inferior. The technique of killing the dark barrel of arrows is after the technique of killing the dark spear is rushing. The clan's gate is good. With a sigh of relief, the rest of the street could be said to be even worse. If it was more severe, it would hurt oneself. However, the injured flying explosion was reduced greatly. Even though Yanadong helped, this was still the case. When the cushion was filled with meat, it fell to the ground at the right time. Pieces of debris flew everywhere, blocking her. Inside, she was protecting Yanadong. She should be the first to fight the dragon. After that, she went up to the sky and exploded in the end. It is difficult to separate the 10 fingers, and the roots of the fingers moving and moving, like a frame dispersing, just like the body of the self, feeling that he is the only one, when the 10 meters on the ground are falling into the arms of Yanadong, who is hugging the dragon in the end. The upper body of the person in the middle of the air to the flying explosion was smashed to the ground. The splashing of the fierce 4 directions to the rain of stars, like the surface of the ground, was blasted to the ground. Go where is it good? Sit on the surface of 2 people. The fragmentary distinguishing method is not piled into a pile of 10 meters in the air. Come and go like a flying field. When the chariot is moving, ride on the dragon, and explode in a flash. His life was sufficient, but the force of the impact of the explosion was close to the bullet and arrow fire. His upper body was directly hit by the impact of the explosion. Although the impact was great. Bomb explosion. Thunderland. What is this thing? Flower Smoke's dazzling eyes. Before the explosion, there are two people in the eyes. The face of the ground is hit directly by the arrow fire. In the front of the people in the direction of the explosion are also the flame tail of the arrow fire. When the rushing waves are on the street, the deep night is riding the horse Yanadon and fighting the dragon. The empty hit will not be big, but also the dark paint of the night is afraid. The starting point of the arrow fire is the high technique of killing the dark connection elite position. His hair was sparse, and he wanted to talk about it, while the two older brothers stood up and blocked it, and the top of their hats were still on top of their heads. This was not the first time he had seen a man wearing a pair of sunglasses, a bridge nose, and a windbreaker style that was long enough to make him look like he was wearing a three-door uniform. The technique of killing the dark arrow fire. The hand of the most my three-gate. The clan of the younger brothers three-gate is here. The technique of killing the dark 100. The shadow body of the two, that is running wildly on the street. In the car, the fixed lock of the arrow fire is riding the arrow fire. The long flame tail is dragging the arrow fire of the arrow fire in the sky. Whoosh! Guanzhuangjia is even more prominent in the field. When the direction of the fighting dragon is hitting the dark night heavily, the arrow fire is sent out. The trigger is sent out, the arrow fire type portable soldier list. Pressing the person there, the top of the tower water is standing. Guanzhuang should go up to look. The height of the 100 meters has reached the height of the tower water. The type of the tower water can be seen in all kinds of ways. The pressure of the water, and the volume of the water in the middle of the network water, is given to the section of the harmony to keep the protection of the use of the same one. The construction of the building is the high water distribution, and the water storage in the use of the type 1 is the tower water. The sound of the flower smoke shooting out is like a formation. The sound is suddenly transmitted. The top of the tower water is not far from the high seat. In an instant this can be. To think that the sky is really like this fighting dragon, when the speed of the flying car is riding the horse. After the question is asked, should the distance of the answer be pulled open? The spearhead rushes to use as 1. The axe warrior uses 1 to kill the dark 2. The speed of the wind is faster than the speed of the lightning. The speed is faster than 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 the speed is higher 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 than the speed is higher. La hua, la hua, la hua. Make do with the car for your own use. Can only go down to the situation of the car tuama is not found. The key to the lock car tuama is pried open. The key to the lock car tuama is pried open. Shua Haiming and Jingzeng. The situation of the upper street is quiet, looking at the four sides of the fighting dragon. The road runs Yani Dong carrying the car and riding the side of the road. If the lock is not opened and the car is moving, does the car Tuomo have a circumference? Seeing this time is the first to return to the law of the road running Yingxin. The law of the road sports car goes by itself. After sitting in the front seat, Yani Dong signaled to step on the back. The car drove its own ragged and broken car to find the side of the house to run quickly. Even if it did not find the time to fight the dragon, it would run quickly. Baku Gong Tong communication envoy is still. Kill those who are chasing after him. If he doesn't take off the light that he should be running away, will he? Leaving the empty space of the land, the court has exhausted all the Taoists. Running to where they should go, the Taoists should know them. Running to the next situation, this is Yanadon and the dragon. The light of the fire candle spreads out stubbornly in the dim light of the road. There is only the street. The sky covered by the layers of clouds is also the bright moon. Deep in the night has arrived. Leading this kill in the dark, the earth is shaking and the sky is startled. Since the emissary is going to kill the person in the dark, the clan One Door Yue Zhao is also here. The quiet and cold sound of the voice is sinking. By Ming. Lonely is lying in ambush, also One and Lang is falling. The alley is small, this deep is not fighting the dragon. Blood drop number 6 in the Battle Dragon victory. Kill Dragon Battle Dragon General. Technique kill hidden spear point rush. Hand take self hollow half in. Leap down one side from above Lang second position. This is right also. Wait time drop dry also a little difference before the Battle Dragon. This is also. Buddha kills Buddha by chance. God kills God by chance. Chi kills God by chance. If you want to be cool, then you have to play with the spear point charging style. Technique kills in the dark spear point charging style. Xiuzhuan is Zhe Lengji's younger brother. Effectively filling in each other, combining and reaching each other. Skillfully killing the dark domain leader, also does not learn to learn the king's killing the dark position. This is with oneself. The lower schools Zhang Brothers are still brothers, true and true, born from the same mother. Although the 3 clans of brothers belong to the same school. Zhe kill dark clan 1 gate yas, technique kill dark spear feng chong. Tong jing that Zhongko he also 1 gate ya also. Lang si men also called 1 gate ya also. Lang si men also 1 gate ya men called men here. The spearhead charging type seemed to be divided into 10. The upper hand fighting dragon. And the handle was 1 down. The big handle of the axe was 2 not together. The man holding the upper hand was here. And the 2 were together. Obviously, the other districts also have the appearance. The black color is the hair. And he is also not a match. The black color of the mirror, and the black frame is also a bridge nose. And the style of the wind is pulled by the style of the wind. And also a door to follow the man who wears it. In the eyes of the surviving brethren, did I realize that it was difficult to speak? What do you mean by this? To open and leave suddenly. He knitted his eyebrows to prevent himself from seeing a man standing on the edge of a tall building on the side of a small alley. He was standing straight, he could not turn around and head back. He was also prepared to enter the alley and take a look. Staying or stopping is also not a moment. Running outside to face the outside. Turning her head around to follow Kelly and her. Don't look at all Shidong. What is this base? The color is dark, and the black head is pressed down to see this from here. The alley is small, long, and thousands of meters are stacked up. Fong Fong looked at Yanadong in front of him. And the words are exactly like this. Is there an enemy in the head? Why don't you enter the deep alley? Why don't you run back to start and I follow? And then stop. Dao said solemnly, then fight the dragon. Astonished, he was moved by the broken fruit. This was his answer to Budi's decision. Budi's method of using his feet and fists was not as fierce as fighting the dragon. He had just come to see Yanadong. This is the way to talk about fighting the dragon. The way to solve the problem of using up all the energy in the leg fist. The way to solve the problem of using up all the energy in the leg fist. The hand is in the back of the billiards ready. The billiards can be fired 15 times to fill up all the bullets, so that a total of 1 spear can be used to charge into the inside of the bar of the Wu. If the gun can't be fired, then the gun can't be fired. If it can't be fired, then it can't be said that it's not you. Daoist inquired about the origin of the suspicion that it was Yanadong's Fong Qian. If the enemy fell, the gun would be used to break the fruit. It seems that it is difficult to run away. Follow the speed of the rogues. After a few somersaults, the ground is flipping over to catch the bullet shuttle. Come and go, where did he get the gun from? What are you laughing about? Go quickly. How do you do it? Is the spearhead still like it? This guy has the upper body, this guy. Like a bird hitting in the head, coming down to hit the air from him. His body's hand is high. Tai hit the middle. Hit the 2 bullets, hit the 3 bullets. The close distance is the cause. Xiao. Kill him. He pulled out his gun. After fighting for a while, he entered the alley. His hand is high. Tai is in the position of fighting the dragon. After coming to the side of the alley, when the knee iron flew together, his voice was like that of an ape. His hand is high. Tai's head is the first to run. The back alley is small. Yanadong is following. Jai. Starting from the alley, the life of a small life. That entering soldier chased the group. Since he brought himself, it was obvious that he was following. In the beginning of this matter, The special point of the beginning of this matter is traced back to the point of the node, the death and death of the next one every time. It seems that the feeling of the situation has been traced back to the point of how many times. This is the beginning of the past. This is the beginning of the matter. This is the answer. This is the return of time. This is the Tathagata origin. The hand is high. Tai is unlucky to fall under the law spear step 7. Long before the death, it was not the case. That position of the formation was broken. The soldiers were chasing after the crows. The flock of crows followed behind their heads, heading to the alleyway where they were familiar with each other. Suddenly, Yanadon and Jinji saw him and opened their eyes wide. When the brain of the sea appeared, the degree was then followed by the sound system. The scattered speed and quick awareness of the fighting dragon followed. Train the best, he gave it. Gun 1's exploding bag of brain fighting dragon will be connected. Come and go. Where do you know from the way? Read far, not die from the scripture is already there. Li Xian is proud and arrogant, and Li Xian is lucky. This production result is like a person when the whirlpool is fighting in the body. Fortunately, this produced the fighting dragon of the production center. I don't know if it's not. Well, after the prison of the border, Li Lu will drag. This is enough to answer me. I can't get up. Why don't you look like a good enemy? Gradually chased down by him, who was also on guard, Li 1. Di Songqing dueling field battle. The anticipation has long been the reality of the fighting dragon. The matter of this falling down, the task field will be self-sufficient. Chapter 163. In the dark night, Shinya stared into the distance with his eyes wide open. From the alley in the distance, there seemed to be a huge stream of people rushing towards them. The two leading them were his assassination targets, Ryuto Kiryu and Saito Dunya. Following behind the two of them was a large group of rogue hunters, who were panting and holding all sorts of weapons in their hands. Seeing this scene, Shinya was stunned for a moment, then a terrifying killing intent flashed in his eyes. His gaze was not the gaze of a normal human who wanted to kill, but the gaze of a hunter who wanted to hunt his prey. It was as if there wasn't a living person in the snake's thin body, but an alien creature in human skin. There was a path to heaven, but you did not take it. There was no door to hell. Your life, I will take it. Shinya immediately laughed maniacally and gave orders to the secret department members below through the walkie-talkie. All members listen up. Capture 2 targets, regardless of life or death. Yes. After hearing the boss's words, dozens of strong men in white suits also rushed forward along the street. They all picked up their weapons and ran towards Ryuto and Saito. At the same time, Shinya turned around and looked at Nyamaru with a provocative gaze, at the same time revealing a sinister smile. Smelly old man, didn't you stop me from going out to search? Now that the situation is so chaotic, let's see how you're going to stop me. After laughing, the real snake's silhouette flew down from the street lamp and blended into the crowd in front of it. Immediately, Bunkomaru could not help but sigh. This is troublesome. Ryuto Kiryu, what are you thinking? In Bunkomaru's opinion, Ryuto escaping in this direction was a foolish choice. After all, the secret department of Tenmu Group was here. Their strength was much stronger than the rogue hunters chasing after them. Most importantly, there was Shinya, a hidden ninja present. If Long Do had avoided the strong enemies of the secret department and slowly broke through, he would have a chance to escape sooner or later. But now it was different. The difficulty of escaping from a real snake was obviously not on the same level. Although Shinya could not escape from Bunkomaru's lock, when the situation became chaotic, even Bunkomaru could not guarantee that he could save the two people's lives. Thus, after looking at the street below, Bunkomaru, who was ordered to protect Ryuto and Dunya, could not help but sigh. However, he still quickly jumped in that direction and blended into the crowd. At this time, the open street was already filled with weapons and smoke. In the middle of the street that was dozens of meters long, 2 groups of people were rapidly approaching from both sides, each launching their own attack. Sandwiched between the 2 forces was a young boy and a young girl, who looked to be at most in their teens. Seeing that there were pursuers in front and behind them, and that they were about to get 2 slices of bread and cheese, Dunya couldn't help but ask, "Hey, is there really no problem?" "No problem, don't worry. There will be divine soldiers descending from the sky to save us." "Divine soldiers descending from the sky, my ass. How could there be such a thing?" Just as Dunya was about to complain, a divine soldier, in the sky with a long tail of flame, was already flying in a beautiful arc toward them. "What? That is?" It was fired from the water tower. A rocket? Seeing the not too eye-catching but barely visible killing weapon in the sky, Shinya and Bunkamaru, who were mixed in the crowd, widened their eyes and quickly dodged in all directions. They really did not understand why such a sudden situation would happen. Seeing that Ryudo and Dunya were about to be surrounded by rogue hunters and Tenmu group, a rocket suddenly fell from the sky? Who was the one who fired it? Who was it attacking? Was there something wrong with launching a rocket in this kind of street? Because the situation was too chaotic, both Shinya and Bunkamaru were confused. But the only thing they knew was that when the rocket hit the ground, the situation would become 10 times more chaotic. What made Shinya even more surprised was that when he left the crowd and jumped toward the second-floor balcony, not far away to avoid being affected by the rocket landing, another figure also appeared in the air. Under Shinya's stunned gaze, Ryudo quickly threw a long rope hook toward the balcony above and picked up Dunya with one hand. Then he pulled the rope and stepped on the street lamp, and his whole body flew into the air. That's right, he really flew into the air. Because he was already vigilant of the situation at the water tower, Ryudo's movement was actually one step ahead of Shinya and Bunkamaru. When he saw the rocket flying toward them, he had already thrown out the rope hook, and at the same time, grabbed Dunya's slender waist with one hand and jumped onto the street lamp. Relying on the pulling force of the rope, superhuman speed, and jumping ability, Ryudo carried Dunya and stepped on the street lamp to reach a height of 10 meters in the air. It was like an acrobat performing a trapeze. "Hold on tight. Don't let go." After reaching a height, Ryudo quickly let go of the rope and reached out to grab the protective railing of the 3rd floor. Although Dunya did not know what was going on, she instinctively hugged her body. The second the two reached the rooftop, the rocket finally landed on the ground, leaving a trail of flames behind it. It landed at the position where Ryudo and Dunya were about to run. At the same time, the secret agents of Tenmu Group and rogue hunters happened to rush together. The people standing at the front of both sides were only 1 or 2 meters away from the landing point of the rocket. Boom! Just as the two teams were startled by the sudden appearance of Long Do in the air, a terrifying thing happened, accompanied by a series of rumbling sounds. The explosion, the 80mm rocket, landed directly in the middle of the crowd. Although it didn't directly explode on anyone, the power caused by the rocket falling at close range was enough to blow up everyone around it. In TV dramas or movies, the main characters could often be seen walking with their heads up and chests out in a large pile of explosions. Their expressions were calm, and their steps were steady, as if the bombs were useless as long as they did not land on them. However, Ryudo, who was blown up by the rocket at close range, knew that it was a bullsh*t scene to fool people. Not to mention the shrapnel produced by the explosion of the rocket, and the shattered ground that would scatter in all directions. Just the strong shock wave produced by the explosion alone could cause serious internal injuries, damaging the bones and internal organs of the entire body. Even someone like Ryudo, who had a LV4 constitution and a dual supreme grade reinforced iron bones, was almost blown to the ground by the explosion at close range. It was even more so for the group of people who were rushing towards the center of the explosion. Therefore, in the middle of the streets of Tokyo in the middle of the night, a terrifying human body show appeared. As the rocket landed, most of the people who were within 10 meters of the explosion were blown away. Some of the people who were closer to the explosion did not even look human anymore. The powerful shockwave mixed with all kinds of debris, and debris spread out in all directions. Almost all of the people who were rushing towards the explosion were either knocked down or thrown to the ground. Gunfire roared, smoke filled the air, and blood flowed like a river. It was a horrible sight. At least 7 or 8 people were killed on the spot, There were even more who were injured or stunned. This kind of scene could only be seen on cruel battlefields. Who would have thought that a corner of a modern city could play such a game? One could not help but admire the guts of the Amons. Did I hit them? I don't think so. Amon Sango shook his head as he looked at the situation on the street through the scope of the rocket launcher. Based on his understanding of the rocket launcher assassination technique, when Long Do and Dunya reached the balcony on the third floor through the hook, the impact of the explosion was no longer enough to hurt them. It had to be said that Ryudo's reaction was far beyond Amon Sango's expectations. He did not think that the brat could dodge his rocket so quickly. It was as if he knew that the rocket launcher was aimed at him. Impossible, right? But even if the situation was chaotic, Sango did not have the opportunity to fire another rocket launcher. He could only contact his two brothers. Ichijiro, the target is out of sight. We have to chase after them quickly, otherwise they will escape. No problem. Roger that. Hearing the two familiar voices coming from the communicator, the assassins of the Amon clan quickly rushed towards the smoke-filled area. At the same time, the center of the street had turned into a living hell. It was filled with screams, cries for help, and screams of pain. Which bastard threw the bomb? I'm going to skin him alive. Help! Help, I can't move my legs. Someone help me. Cough cough. Poof. Cough cough. Do you have any bandages? My stomach. It was pierced by shrapnel. Excluding the dying comedian, who was about to use a bandage to fix his stomach, as well as a large group of injured people. Currently, there were about 50 active members of the Heavenly Eye Group's confidential department and rogue hunters. The lucky ones who ran behind the crowd were not too badly injured by the rocket launcher. However, in such a chaotic situation, their already tense nerves were immediately ignited. Looking at his colleagues from the secret department lying on the ground with heavy casualties, a well-built man in a white suit couldn't help but shout, "You bastards! How dare you use a rocket launcher on the street?" The man in the white suit clearly saw that the rocket launcher came from the direction of the rogue hunters. Although it fell from the sky, it was still coming from that direction. Plus, they also knew that this group of bastards in the underground world would do anything. Of course, throwing a bomb on the street was not a problem. From a certain point of view, the man in the white suit's judgment was correct. After all, the Amon clan that launched the rocket launcher was also a member of the underground world. But for the rogue hunters who were also affected, the man in the white suit's accusation made them feel very uncomfortable. Chapter 164. Thus, someone shouted at the other side. Are you AF * king idiot? Can't you see that so many people have died on our side? Who would blow up their own people? Who knew that you guys? Originally, the man in the white suit wanted to shout. Who knows if the people on your side have brains? But before he could finish his sentence, a sharp stone suddenly flew towards him. It went straight into his left eye. Oh, ah. Immediately, this capable agent of the Heavenly Eye Group's confidential department let out a blood-curdling scream. He reached out to cover his left eye that had a stone embedded in it. After trembling violently, he collapsed to the ground. Now that they saw their comrade being blinded by a sneak attack after yelling at the group of rogue hunters, the other agents naturally couldn't stand it anymore. Despicable bastard. You want to fight just because you don't like it? Who's afraid of who, you bastard? Brothers. Kill them all. After this sudden incident of a stone injuring someone, the already tense atmosphere exploded in an instant. In an instant, it changed from a lot like a battlefield to a battlefield. The group of secret agents from the Heavenly Eye Group picked up their weapons and rushed to the other side. The group of gangsters from the underground world naturally wouldn't be beaten up for nothing. They also rushed over while shouting, "Ooh, ooh." On the street that was still filled with smoke and dust, the two forces fought passionately. They fought with crowbars, machetes, electric shock devices, spiked knuckles, and other lethal weapons. The scene was very spectacular. Puff. Ha 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 ha. They actually started fighting. What a bunch of idiots. Dunya, who had already followed Ryudo to the rooftop of the third floor of the house next door, couldn't help but laugh when she saw the passionate battle scene on the street. It was obvious that the hidden stones that had ignited the atmosphere were not thrown by the rogue hunters. They did not have enough strength to blind someone with a stone from such a distance. The one who caused this huge misunderstanding was naturally Ryuto Kiryu on the rooftop. Only he would have such a vicious throwing technique and such bad intentions. When the two sides started fighting on the street below, Ryuto smiled and said to Dunya, "Don't laugh first. We still have some things to deal with." Over. The moment he said the last word, Ryuto quickly lowered his body and dodged to the side. Coincidentally, he dodged a black light from the shadows. Finally appeared the top assassin of the confidential department, the hidden ninja. Although Ryuto was talking and laughing with Dunya on the surface, in reality, he was already focused on guarding against attacks from all directions. After all, he knew that the real snake's appearance this time. As long as he came to this area, there was a high probability that he would be assassinated by the real ninja. In a situation where he was prepared in advance, even if it was a top assassin, it would not be easy to ambush Ryuto. When Ryuto dodged the real ninja's attack, Dunya immediately reacted and stared at the young assassin with a beast-like gaze. Dunya would never forget this assassin's appearance for the rest of her life. This was because he was the one who stabbed President Wu Hong in front of Dunya, giving her an unforgettable nightmare. But when he felt Dunya's breathing suddenly changed, Ryuto quickly reached out and grabbed her hand. He whispered, "Don't be rash, the two of us can't catch him, he's too agile." "Are we going to let him chase us?" "Not necessarily, we can do this." Before he finished his words, Ryuto quickly pulled Dunya to the side of the railing. "Want to run?" Seeing that Ryuto was about to jump down from the third floor with Dunya, the real ninja's figure flashed and chased after them. Tut tut tut. But before he could run a few steps, Ryuto fired a burst of submachine gun fire, forcing the real ninja to slow down a little in order to dodge the bullets. With Battle Dragon's current trashy gun skills, he could only use his gun to bully amateurs. Against an expert like True Snake, it was practically useless. But in the short time the real ninja retreated, Ryuto pulled Dunya and jumped down from the third floor. Clang! The two of them landed on the second-floor balcony below. First, they directly stomped a big hole in the balcony floor, then jumped down and rushed into the chaotic crowd in front of them. Now was the time when the agents of the secret department and the rogue hunters, who came to make money, warmly hugged each other. Both sides fought back and forth on the street. Coupled with the aftermath of the rocket launcher explosion, there was still dust everywhere, which caused the visibility on the street to be extremely low. At a glance, it was a group of messy people fighting each other. Want to take this opportunity to escape? Dream on. But the real ninja was not so easy to deal with. He immediately jumped down from the third floor and chased after Ryuto and Dunya. At the same time, other people also noticed two big fat sheep stepping into the battlefield. A hooligan who was still passionately holding a machete and slashing at a man in a white suit with a baton saw Long Do and quickly shouted, "Hey, brothers! Fat sheep! Shut up, you're so noisy." Before the guy finished shouting, Ryuto took out a flash bomb from his pocket and threw it over there. It happened to explode on the head of the rogue. Bang! A huge sonic boom accompanied by a strong light went straight to the head. The rogue who talked a lot fainted on the spot, and blood kept flowing out of his ears. He would probably have to rely on a hearing aid for the rest of his life. Woo! When the flash bomb exploded, the strong light went straight into the eyes of everyone around, including the real ninja, who just rushed over. Ryuto Kiryu. Where did he get these guys from? Was this a magic trick? The real ninja could swear to God that he definitely did not see Ryuto's pocket carrying a flash bomb. After all, it was impossible for such a big thing to not reveal its shape in the pocket. But being caught off guard by the flash bomb, even the professionally trained real ninja could not help but feel a little dizzy. The group of fishes around him were even worse. Ah, my eyes! My eyes! F*CKU. If we die together. Don't come over. Don't come over. I'll kill whoever comes over. The situation on the battlefield was already very chaotic, and after the flash bomb exploded, the scene was really a mess. Some went crazy and started hacking everywhere, Some covered their eyes and crouched down. Some pretended to be dead, and some hurriedly found a wall to lean against. The more chaotic it was, the more chaotic it was. There was already a lot of flying dust and rocks on the ground, and this group of people tossed and turned, causing the visibility of the area to drop to the lowest point. Only a few figures could be seen nearby. Damn, Ryuto Kiryu, where is that guy? Found him. Just as the real ninja was trying to regain his vision, while looking for Ryuto's trace, he suddenly saw a very conspicuous spot. Suddenly, he saw a very conspicuous coordinate in front of him. It was a golden retriever that looked a little inferior. Everyone knew that Ryuto Kiryu had a low-quality golden retriever, so as long as the real ninja followed the golden retriever, there was a high chance that he would be found. Therefore, the real ninja rushed towards the nearest golden retriever without hesitation, and pierced through it with his hidden blade. Ah! The real ninja frowned when he heard the person scream, because it was obviously not Ryuto's voice. It doesn't matter if it's not him. That guy can't go far in this situation. As long as I continue to kill the golden retriever, I'll be able to dig him out sooner or later. With this thought in mind, the real ninja was like a death god looking for the golden retriever in this chaotic area. And soon he found another one. The golden hair was very eye-catching in the thick dust. It's you. Go to hell. The real ninja raised his hidden blade and rushed towards the figure, and the sharp weapon in his hand went straight for the person's heart. Someone wants to ambush me? Ignorant scoundrel. But unlike the previous golden retriever who was assassinated, this golden retriever in the dust seemed to have seen the real ninja's trace, and like lightning, he swung his 2 battle axes towards the real ninja. The sharp silver light shattered the surrounding dust, and when the real ninja finally reacted and hurriedly stopped his charge, the falling axe was only 5 centimeters away from his nose. Suddenly, the real ninja's eyes widened, because as the dust was scattered by the sharp axe, the man with golden hair, wearing a long wide windbreaker and black sunglasses, appeared in front of the real ninja. How is this Ryuto Kiryu? From the scene of this man waving his battle axes like a fucking baton, isn't this the big brother of the Amon clan, Yaman Kanzuya? At this distance, even if the real ninja's eyes were blurred, he could still recognize that this guy wasn't Ryuto. Moreover, he could tell that Yaman Kanzuya was different from ordinary underground thugs. This guy was a real assassin. Of course, it would be strange if the legendary Amon clan wasn't a real assassin. They were the elite assassins who openly launched rockets on the streets. After the axe almost split the real ninja in half, Kanzuya looked at the skinny man who was holding his hidden blade in a daze, and suddenly felt the aura of a fellow assassin from him. This skinny bamboo pole has a strong murderous aura on him. He's definitely a fellow assassin. As the saying goes, people of the same trade are enemies. And now that he was provoked, Kanzuya didn't need to think carefully about what he would do. Jiro, there's a robber here. Quickly come and kill him with me. Kanzuya picked up his battle axe and rushed towards the real ninja, while shouting to Jiro, who had joined the battle with a submachine gun. Tonight, the night was getting darker and darker, and this already messy scene became even more messy to the point where no one expected it to happen. While the real ninja was being chased by Kanzuya and Jiro with their battle axes and machine gun fire, the real ninja was in a sorry state. The culprit behind all of this had already taken his concubine to open the manhole cover of the battlefield, and ran into an underground tunnel that was unknown how far away it was. Chapter 165. Drip, drip, drip. The sound of water dripping could be faintly heard in the sewer passage. Coupled with the damp and smelly air, it added to the discomfort of walking in this underground world. Can we not walk in the sewer next time? There's a fishy smell on my clothes, and there's also sticky sewage. Ugh. Walking in this gloomy sewer area with Ryuto, Dunya pinched her nose and showed a look of disgust. The sewer where Narukai picked up the two was often used by workers, and the inside was relatively clean. However, the suburban sewer was neglected, and the filth inside was obvious. Even walking on the sidewalk next to it was quite disgusting. But Ryuto was obviously too lazy to care about Dunya's feelings, and he casually replied, "Miss, we are running for our lives, do you know that? Do you think we are traveling?" "That's true. Where are we going next? Those guys shouldn't be able to catch up with us, right?" Dunya said while turning her head to look at the dark sewer behind them. Based on the fact that the Secret Service agents were fighting with the rogue hunters, as well as the fact that the Amon clan was involved in a scuffle with the real snake, it seemed like it would take a while for the chaos to return to normal. By the time they realized that their targets had escaped through the sewers, the two of them were already nowhere to be seen. "I don't know, let's go up and see where we are." After walking for a while, Ryuto looked at the stairs that extended upward not far away, and after gesturing to Dunya, he took the lead and climbed up. Ryuto carefully climbed to the top of the sewer, opened the sewer cover from the inside, and then poked his head out. After poking his head out, what appeared in front of him was a street with clear neon lights and pedestrians. Because the battle area not long ago was actually close to the center of Yodo, after walking for a while in the sewer, the place where the two appeared must be a more prosperous area. Since it was a bustling area, there would be a lot of people even at night, and it would be safer for the two to blend in. Therefore, although he didn't know where this place was, Longtu still opened the sewer cover when the passers-by weren't paying attention, and quickly pulled Dunya out. After pulling Dunya out, Ryuto followed her to the street without leaving a trace, while picking up the phone and using the GPS map to locate their location. From the display of the phone, this place was located in the corner of Yodo Setagaya, and it was quite close to the lively Shibuya and port. Most of the previous incidents occurred in the port. Of course, it was also the closest place to the port, the best place to throw people to be fed to the fish. But no matter what, after going through the sewers, it became very difficult to track down Longdo and Dunya. This was equivalent to the two finally getting rid of the threat of the pursuers, which also made Ryuto breathe a deep sigh of relief. After relaxing, he immediately felt that his body became extremely tired. But this was also a matter of course. After all, he had been preparing for the kidnapping work since the night before. Yesterday afternoon, he hid in Union's skirt and went into the hotel, and he also experienced various tests. Even if he was made of iron, he was still tired. So Ryuto said to Dunya as he walked, "There should be no problem for the time being since we are here. Let's find a place to rest. And I also want to take a shower. I'm so smelly." "Ah, I see it. There is a hotel there." Dunya looked at her little princess dress that was stained by the sewage and dirt of the sewer with disgust. Then she quickly glanced at the street. Then she pulled Ryuto and ran not far away. Since this was not the suburbs of Yodo, it was normal to have hotels on the street. So Ryuto didn't think much at first, but he walked over there with Dunya. But just as he approached the door of the hotel with strange neon lights, Ryuto was stunned. There was nothing strange about a hotel or a hotel. But if there was a Love Hotel sign hanging at the door of the hotel, then it was a bit strange. Love Hotel, commonly known as a lover's hotel, was generally a place for people to use. Everyone knew it. On the bustling streets of Yodo, hotels with such neon signs could be seen everywhere. And people also had a tacit understanding of the existence of such places. At most, they would show a strange smile when passing by. But obviously Dunya, who grew up in Russia, didn't know what this Love Hotel was. She just saw the hotel behind, and she hurriedly wanted to take a shower and change the smelly clothes on her body. After noticing that the place where Dunya was about to rush in was not ordinary, Ryuto quickly grabbed her hand and dissuaded her. "Wait, let's change to another hotel. This hotel is not very good." "Not very good?" Dunya showed a puzzled expression when she heard the words. She turned her head and glanced around the street before frowning. "There is only one hotel nearby. What's wrong with this hotel?" The wind. The feng shui is not good. You may encounter ghosts." Ryuto naturally couldn't tell her where the hotel was, so he could only reply perfunctorily. "I'm here, what are you afraid of?" Dunya reached out and patted her chest. She said confidently, "Even if Sadako comes out, I will punch her back to the TV. Is that okay? This is still a bit. Don't be so wishy-washy. Act like a man. Follow me in." It seemed that she was irritated by Ryudo's hesitant attitude. Dunya's face changed, and she directly pulled Ryudo toward the Love Hotel. Act like a man. If I really act like a man, then you are finished tonight. In desperation, Ryudo could only sigh and accompany her into this special hotel with a neon sign. Different from ordinary hotels, the lobby of Love Hotel had layers of partitions and screens. After entering the door, it was almost impossible to see other people. What's going on? Why is this place so strange? Although she was shocked by the strange decoration inside, Dunya quickly found the front desk of the hotel, or found the small window. The front desk of this hotel was really a small window, and the window was hung with half a curtain. The staff sitting inside couldn't see the face of the guests outside, and the guests couldn't see the staff's face. This special design was naturally to provide the best privacy for the guests staying in the hotel, to ensure that no trace would be left from entering to leaving. Of course, entering the Love Hotel didn't require an ID card to register. You only needed to pay and take the room card to check in. However, although they couldn't see her face, when they saw Dunya's petite body, the staff inside hesitated when handing over the room card. In the end, they resisted the idea of calling the police. After all, Long Do had stuffed a $10,000 bill into the cashier's hand and generously said, "Keep the change." That was why the cashier decided to pretend that he hadn't seen anything. This was the charm of a player who spent a lot of money. When they picked up the room card and entered the suite, what appeared in front of them was a pink bedroom with a special decoration style. The large pink round bed looked quite sturdy, and 2 large "yes" were written on the 2 pillows. The heart-shaped floral carpet extended from the bed to the glass bathroom. There was a large pink bathtub in the bathroom, and there were some very explicit murals hanging on the wall. The slightly dim light added a charming and affectionate atmosphere to the room. Coupled with the bedside table with all kinds of special utensils, it was easy to feel the beauty of life and the primitive wildness of it. It was Dunya's first time in this kind of place, and Ryudo was obviously the same. Therefore, the moment he entered the door, he instinctively reached out to cover his head, and at the same time, he felt a sharp pain in his head. It's over. If Dunya knows where this place is in the future, she will beat me to death. Although Dunya took the initiative to enter this hotel, Ryudo didn't think that a woman in an angry state would be so reasonable. In the end, the fault would still be on him. However, Dunya seemed to like this room very much. After she entered the door, she immediately ran in happily. She curiously looked around and laughed. Ha ha ha, this room is really interesting. When I go back, I have to ask my family to decorate my room like this. Don't. They will think that your brain is damaged. What did you say? Louder, I can't hear you. It's okay, you do what you need to do. I will rest for a while. For some reason, Ryudo felt even more tired after entering this hotel. Therefore, he took the pillow from the large round bed and threw it on the carpet and plopped down on it. There was only one bed in the room. If someone were to sleep on it, it would be Dunya. Ryudo didn't want to sleep with her. It was too early, at least a year later. Cough cough. Just as Ryudo dizzily fell asleep on the carpet, Dunya looked at the sloppy guy. Her small mouth slightly curled up and let out a cold snort. Humph, he didn't even take a shower, didn't even change his clothes before sleeping. What a stinky man, so dirty. After despising Ryudo, Dunya quickly changed into disposable slippers and ran to the bathroom. She turned on the tap and began to run the water. She was ready to take a hot bath. When the water level gradually rose, Dunya threw the dirty clothes on her body to the side and poured a large bottle of shower gel into it. Only then did she sit in the bathtub. Phew, paradise this is. What kind of bullshit experience was that before? Really, I don't want to go into the sewer again in this life. As her whole body sat in the bathtub, her tired body was wrapped in warm hot water and fragrant shower gel. Dunya's small face also showed a happy expression, just as Ryudo was resting on the carpet, and Dunya was happily soaking in the bath. Time passed by. An hour later, a familiar phone number interrupted Ryudo's sleep. Chapter 166. Who's calling so late at night? When Ryudo was woken up by the ringing of the phone, he was still half asleep. So he picked up the phone impatiently and realized that the phone had changed. It wasn't the model he used before, so he realized that he wasn't paralyzed at home. Because he changed his phone, the number on the phone didn't show his identity, but Ryudo remembered that it was Colored Glaze's number. "Hello, Colored Glaze?" He pressed the answer button and said weakly. Hearing his voice, Luli, who was on the other side, was obviously shocked. She immediately asked with concern, "Ryudo? Are you okay? You sound terrible." "I'm fine, just a bit tired." "Why are you calling me at this time?" Ryudo looked at the time on the phone. It was already 4 in the morning. It had been 8 hours since Ryudo escaped from the Tokyo Emperor Hotel. After seeing that Ryudo was fine, Colored Glaze immediately said excitedly, "Listen to me first. Sensible has successfully stolen the Otsuka Mist Ghosts online account. The 1 billion bounty for you and Dunya has been cancelled." "Oh, that's great news." Suddenly, Ryudo was energized. He quickly sat up from the carpet and said with a smile, "Well done. That guy must be furious right now, right?" "It's not that angry, but it's definitely scared. The fog ghost should be trembling right now." "Trembling? Why would he tremble?" "What did you do tonight, don't you know?" "What I did tonight?" "Ah, is that what happened?" After hearing Colored Glaze's words, Ryudo couldn't help but pat his head. Since the announcement of the 1 billion bounty, thousands of residents of the underground world found Ryudo, and at least 200 to 300 people died by his hands. Originally, everyone was a piece of trash that licked blood from the edge of the blade to make a living. It was very normal for people to die for wealth and birds to die for food. There was nothing to complain about. The key point was that this wealth had to be right in front of him. He couldn't just take back the wealth all of a sudden. Just as the group of rogue hunters continued to search for Ryudo in the middle of the night, the boss who had posted a reward of 1 billion on the internet suddenly cancelled the reward. The result was naturally like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. "Are you kidding me? King offered a bounty of 1 billion yuan for us to risk our lives for you. Now we've even risked our lives for you. We've been desperately searching for you the entire night, and you're announcing the cancellation of the bounty soon after? Are you treating us like monkeys?" As a result, the forum of the Saiji River Original Love website was suddenly filled with a storm. Many people were cursing and shouting to find the fog ghost and hang it on the street lamp to thank the world. The worst part was that even the Amon family immediately changed sides and announced that they would take the mist ghost's head to vent their anger at being toyed with. That scene was incredibly terrifying, of course. After realizing this situation, the mist ghost could have posted another 1 billion yen bounty to solve the problem. At most, he would have lost another 100 million. However, the current him couldn't do that at all. According to Colored Glaze, when Sensible stole the forum account this time, he also found the mist ghost's bank account. Although he couldn't find the password and couldn't transfer the money inside, under Colored Glaze's instructions, Sensible deliberately used the mist ghost's account to enter the wrong password 6 times in a row. When using a Japanese bank account, as long as you enter the wrong password 3 times, you will be notified. But if you enter the wrong password 6 times, it will cause the account to be locked. You have to bring your ID card to the bank to unlock it. The problem was that it was still 4 in the morning, but the bank opened at 9 in the morning. So, even if the fog ghost wants to withdraw money from his bank account and post another bounty, he will have to wait until at least 9 in the morning. These 5 hours will be extremely difficult to endure. At this point, Colored Glaze's lips curled into a joyful smile. It was as if she could see the fog ghost trembling and pale from fright from a long distance away. "Good one, Kanzaki Colored Glaze, you're truly vicious." After understanding the whole sequence of events, Ryudo couldn't help but shiver. He admired Colored Glaze's insidious method of turning the situation around. However, no matter how ruthless Colored Glaze's methods were, she was using them on outsiders, so it didn't matter how ruthless she was. More importantly, after this 1 billion bounty was over, the entire Ryudo Kiryu kidnapping incident was about to come to an end. After all, without the interference of the rogue hunters, the Heavenly Eye group was also in a terrible state because of the fog ghost. With the interference of the Kamiyoshi clan and the Saito guild, it was difficult for these factions to pose any threat to Ryudo. This way, Ryudo and Dunya could peacefully hide here until the tunnel to the nesting duck prison was finished. Colored Glaze had been paying attention to the tunnel's progress. Now that more than 80% of the tunnel's length had been dug, it would be completed in a few more hours. Once the tunnel was completed, Ryudo would be able to bring Dunya out, and Ryudo would be able to openly bring Dunya to the hospital where Saito Takahiro was. He would return Dunya and explain the whole sequence of events to Takahiro. Everything was going so smoothly that Ryudo couldn't help but laugh out loud. It wasn't easy. In the end, the goddess of victory is still on my side, who told me to be the main character. However, just as Ryudo was about to laugh out loud, a shout from the bathroom not far away pulled him into the depths of hell. Not long ago, Dunya was happily soaking in the bathtub. She only reluctantly climbed out of the bathtub when the hot water that was refilled 3 times turned cold. However, when she was drying herself with a towel and preparing to change her clothes, she realized that she seemed to have forgotten something important. Oh no, I forgot that there are no spare clothes here. This is troublesome. Suddenly, Dunya looked at the dirty and smelly princess dress that she threw aside and frowned in disgust. She had no choice but to shout at Ryudo outside. Ryudo, is there any clothes outside? I don't have any clothes to wear. Hurry up and find me one. After all, there were only the 2 of them in the room, and Dunya couldn't go out to look for Long Do without any clothes to wear. So it was normal for her to shout at Long Do, who seemed to have woken up and was on the phone. However, at this time, Ryudo happened to be in the process of talking to Colored Glaze on the phone, and Dunya's voice was very loud, so her voice directly entered Colored Glaze's ears on the phone. This voice is, Dunya? What did she say? Ryudo? I don't have any clothes to wear? The moment Luli heard this, she couldn't help but drop the phone she was holding onto the ground. This was because this sentence really sounded like something. Ryudo also trembled when he heard Dunya's words. He quickly covered the phone and replied, Don't shout. Can't you hear that I'm on the phone? So you want me to wrap myself in a towel like this? I don't want to. It's so cold that I'll catch a cold. Dunya said as she leaned out of the bathroom and said to Ryudo relentlessly. But when she leaned out half of her body, the scene was really quite beautiful. Not to mention the little bear's personality that was completely inconsistent with her appearance. Dunya, this little girl, was really beautiful in terms of face and figure. She had obviously taken a good bath. She was only wrapped in a bath towel, and her tender and white shoulders, collarbones, thighs, and feet were all exposed. Coupled with the wet white hair sticking to her body, this scene was simply enough to make one's index finger twitch. If he thought that this was Love Hotel, and there was a big round bed full of yes pillows next to him, then this made Ryudo's brain almost tilted, and some strange thoughts that shouldn't have appeared in his mind. After being shocked by the beauty of the white-haired loli at this time, his hand that covered the phone unconsciously slipped down a little. With this slip, the conversation between the two was once again heard by Colored Glaze, who had just picked up the phone and quickly turned the volume to the maximum. Wait for me to hang up the phone, and I'll find you clothes, okay? Who's over there? Look at how nervous you are. You look like a thief. Anyway, it has nothing to do with you. Go in and wait, it'll be done soon. What? If it wasn't for you messing around without saying a word, and making my body full of sticky fishy smell, would I have no clothes to wear? You have to be responsible, humph. After complaining, Dunya returned to the bathroom and sat on the table next to the bathtub. She pouted her little mouth unhappily. Of course, Dunya's last sentence was really not an exaggeration, nor was there any ambiguity. Messing around without saying a word equals suddenly opening the sewer cover and pulling Dunya in. Sticky fishy smell all over my body equals sewage and fishy smell in the sewer. You have to be responsible equals you have to get me new clothes. For people who knew what happened not long ago, the truth was that simple. But for Colored Glaze, who didn't know the situation over there, these words were really very ambiguous. Messing around without saying a word? A sticky fishy smell? You have to be responsible. After hearing this conversation, Colored Glaze couldn't help but open her mouth wide. And a scene that matched the description of this conversation appeared in her mind. In that imagined scene, Ryudo's beastly nature towards Dunya, who was wearing beautiful clothes, and without even taking off her clothes, he just as Colored Glaze's mind was imagining Ryudo being hung as a street lamp. Ryudo picked up the phone again and asked, "Hello, Colored Glaze. It's a bit noisy here, you." "Go to hell." "Ah, you. What did you say?" "Go to hell, perverted lolicon, perverted lolicon, perverted lolicon." After 3 consecutive perverted lolicon, Colored Glaze's tone became more and more agitated, and in the end, she even used all of her strength to shout. Of course, the usually calm Colored Glaze rarely lost her composure to this extent, and it was obvious that Ryudo's actions this time really angered her to the point of having a blood clot in her brain. "Ryudo Kiryu, from today onwards we'll cut off all ties. You go to your 18 levels of hell. I'll cross my single plank bridge." "Wait, why am I the 18 levels of hell? Where did the path of the sun go? Also, is there something wrong with you?" Before Ryudo could figure out what Colored Glaze misunderstood, the other side fiercely hung up the phone. What the hell is this?" Ryudo tried calling a few more times, only to find that his number had been blacklisted. Only then did he realize that he was in grave danger. He never would have thought that the greatest danger he encountered today wouldn't come from the Heavenly Eye Group, nor the Saitu Guild, nor would it come from the Amon clan. Instead, it would come from Kanzaki cutting off all ties with Colored Glaze. Chapter 167. What the F***CK? What did I do to deserve this? After being hung up by Colored Glaze, Ryudo quickly went to find a set of pajamas and threw it to Dunya. Then, he frantically sent all kinds of explanations to Colored Glaze, but there was no reply. In a situation where there was no other way, Ryudo could only call Sensible and ask him. Only then did he know that Colored Glaze ran away after smashing the phone. He didn't know where she went. This is troublesome. She seems to be quite angry. Looking at Dunya, who had changed into her pajamas, lying on the bed and sleeping, Ryudo, who was sitting on the carpet, couldn't fall asleep. Although Colored Glaze was usually a reasonable person, no matter how reasonable she was only a 16-year-old girl. She still had the temper of a young girl. But even if he couldn't fall asleep, time would always pass by. In this awkward atmosphere, a few hours quickly passed, and this night full of disasters and troubles also came to an end. With the sound of the bell at around 8 o'clock in the morning, Gao Yuan, who had been digging for a long time under the Nest Duck prison, finally saw the long-awaited dawn. The group of brawny men from the Rulong Security Company waved various digging tools with their thick arms. After digging for a long time, the tunnel was finally completely penetrated. The internal building of the Nest Duck prison also appeared in front of everyone. "It's through! It's through! It's through! Finally! Ha 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 ha!" When he saw this scene, Gao Yuan could not help but laugh out loud. However, after laughing for a while, he fell back and fainted. After all, Gao Yuan had been supervising the work here since yesterday morning. At the same time, he was in charge of communicating with Mingji and Lioli, who were in the central command room. He had not rested for over 10 hours and was exhausted. However, Gao Yuan's efforts were not in vain. Under the command of this excellent management genius, the labor force of the Rulong Security Company was maximized by him, which was also a major reason why the tunnel could be dug so quickly. "Well done, leave the rest to us." After arranging for people to carry Gao Yuan out of the sewer, 16 Knights dancing costume, who was in charge of leading the team to rescue Yuma, quietly sneaked in with a few elite subordinates and sneaked into the heavily guarded nesting duck prison. Although they managed to sneak into the inner area by digging a hole, it was still quite difficult to get to the confinement room area where Tong Xing Yima was. Fortunately, Colored Glaze had already come up with a rescue plan before they left. Sensible was also on the side, using his hacking skills to help Dancing Costume and the others. Following the Dancing Costume, the rescue team, who had changed into their nesting duck prison uniforms, sneaked into the prison. After relying on Sensible to open a few electronic locks, they finally saw the man in the confinement room. Crack. Creak. Although it was still early in the morning, Tong Xing Yima in the confinement room had already gotten up early as usual. In the small confinement room, he did simple exercises like push-ups as usual. When he did the 386th push-ups, the door of the confinement room was slowly pushed open, and a young woman wearing a prison guard uniform sneaked in. When he saw Dancing Costume, Yima, who was somewhat thin, but in a good state of mind, said without hesitation, "You must have spent a lot of effort to sneak in here. But I'm very sorry. I don't plan to break out of prison." With Yima's eyesight and experience, he could naturally see that Dancing Costume was not a prison guard here, and clearly expressed that she did not want to break out of prison. Yima had always adhered to the simple and unadorned way of chivalry. He was a righteous person, and he resisted righteously. How could he do something as immoral as breaking out of prison? That was absolutely unacceptable. But Dancing Costume seemed to be prepared for this, so she did not say anything. Instead, she took out a letter personally written by Colored Glaze and handed it over. In this letter personally written by Colored Glaze, the young lady first explained the current situation to Yima, and then used a tone full of persuasion to write a bunch of preaching words. "I hope you don't overly adhere to the so-called chivalry path. Chivalry is not inflexible, and it does not mean that you are a hostage, and it does not mean that you are a burden to your family and friends." Puffed. Ha 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 ha. After reading the letter sent by Colored Glaze, Yima could not help but laugh. Generally speaking, Tong Xing Yima, as the head of the Rulong group, both the black and white sides would give him some face. Naturally, it has been a long time since someone dared to directly reprimand him like this. But Colored Glaze dared, and did not give him any face at all. The only thing missing was the words, "Are you an idiot?" written clearly on the letter. But although Yima was somewhat simple, he was not a narrow-minded person. He even felt that Colored Glaze's words were quite reasonable. So he nodded at Dancing Costume, smiled and said, "Your young lady is right. I am too pedantic, and indeed cause trouble for everyone. You flatter me. Anyway, let's hurry up and leave." After seeing that Yima was willing to break out of prison with her, Dancing Costume finally let out a sigh of relief. Just like this, Dancing Costume had Yima change into the prison guard uniform that they brought. The two of them opened the door and walked out, all the way back to the tunnel that they dug before. When they saw their boss, whom they hadn't seen for a long time, walk out alone, the members of Rulong's security company standing in the sewer were so excited that their eyes were brimming with tears. "It's the leader. The leader is finally out. Whoa, that's great. We didn't dig so many tunnels in vain. Idiot. What are you crying for? Don't make a fool of yourself. We have to congratulate the leader on his return." In the crowded sewer, Yima looked at the brothers who had been digging the tunnel for a whole day. They were already tired and covered in dust. He couldn't help but sigh deeply. Therefore, he instinctively wanted to give a passionate speech to express his gratitude to his brothers, but he was quickly pushed away by the dancers who followed behind him. "In short, let's leave first. After Mr. Yima goes out, we have to inform young Master Ryudo to bring people to the hospital to return Miss Saito." Although he knew that Yima must have a lot to say to this group of old subordinates, Dancing Costume still had to let them solve the business first, and this was not the place to talk. When he heard the words Miss Saito, Yima couldn't help but ask, "Return Miss Saito? Is that Miss Saito Takeo's daughter?" "Yes, President Takeo is now receiving treatment in a private hospital under our Kamiyoshi clan. We have to wait for young Master Ryudo to bring people to the hospital." Speaking of this, Dancing Costume quickly picked up the phone and sent a mission-completed message to Miss Colored Glaze on the other side. However, Yima pondered for a few seconds, then said, "Takeo. I will also go to the hospital with him. I am an old friend of Takeo, It should be easier to explain with me. Ah, is that so? That's not a problem. Dancing Costume never heard that Kiryuima and Takeo Saito were old friends, but since they took the initiative to explain together, Dancing Costume could only nod and agree. Just like this, after Yima escaped from the Nest Duck prison, he directly sat in the car outside the sewer and drove to the Kansai First Hospital, where Takeo Saito was. At the same time, Ryudo and Dunya, who had rested for a few hours in the Love Hotel, finally checked out and left. The person in charge of receiving them was a black car driven by Kamita Momo. The two sat in the car and looked at the daily morning scenery outside the window. There was an inexplicable feeling of unreality. Dunya couldn't help but ask, that, after you send me there, will everything be over? Yes or else? Before we were chased by so many strong enemies, I thought we would have to fight a strong enemy in the end. Do you think we are playing a game? There is a final boss. Ryudo naturally scoffed at Dunya's naive words. However, when the car drove to the entrance of the Kansai First Hospital, the two got out of the car and walked into the hospital. Only then did he realize that Dunya's words seemed to be correct, because in the waiting area at the entrance of the hospital, there was a beautiful woman wearing a clean, simple but dignified kimono with her black hair tied up high. When she saw Ryudo's stunned figure after entering the door, Kansai Ruehue, who was leisurely drinking a cup of tea, showed a faint smile. She put down the teacup and waved at Ryudo. Well, it seems that the final boss does exist. When he saw the master of Kamiyoshi here early in the morning, Ryudo's mouth couldn't help but twitch, but he still signaled Dunya to wait on the side, and he walked over in a dignified manner. After arriving at the hospital's waiting area, Ryudo casually sat on another chair, just opposite of Ruehue. Ruehue wasn't angry, but asked with a smile, "You don't plan to stand next to me this time? Ryudo Kiryu, or would it be better to call you Lilan?" Obviously, after one night, Ruehue had completely understood Ryudo's identity. After all, Lilan didn't exist in this world, and Ryudo also kidnapped Dunya after that, so it didn't take much to figure out who the waiter was. Therefore, after hearing Ruehue's words, Ryudo wasn't surprised but replied with a smile, "No, there are too many people around you. I'm afraid there's no place to stand." As Ryudo said, he casually glanced around the waiting area. As far as the eye could see, there were at least 3 guardian ninjas protecting Ruehui. Although they hid very well, Ryudo was still able to see some clues. But Ryudo didn't care about the ninjas hidden around at all. What he cared about now was Ruehue's attitude. At the beginning of the Dunya kidnapping plan, he didn't consider the situation that Ruehue would appear, which led to Ryudo accidentally having a certain degree of contact with the former Hakusho. Then, when the incident was about to end, how would Ruehue's attitude towards Ryudo change? This was what Ryudo felt a headache. Chapter 168. From an objective point of view, Ryudo did indeed lie to Ruehui. He faked his own identity to contact Ruehui, and made up a fake name Lilan to fool her. It was indeed a bit too much. But from another objective point of view, Ryudo also helped Ruehui, mainly in the Saito Taoism incident. But which of the two was more important? It was entirely up to Ruehui to decide. So when he sat in front of Ruehui, Ryudo felt a bit uneasy, and didn't know what she would say. Of course, compared to Ryudo who didn't know what she was thinking, Ruehui's attitude was much calmer. She just sat on the chair with her back straight. Although it was just an ordinary chair in the waiting room, the posture of this lady sitting on it still gave a feeling of grace and elegance, as if an empress was sitting on the throne. Moreover, Ruehui's eyes were staring straight at Ryudo without any hesitation. She didn't even stop staring at him until his scalp went numb. A minute passed, Ruehui didn't speak, and Ryudo didn't dare to speak either. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes passed, and Ruehui still had a faint smile on her face as she looked at the young man opposite her. Her calm face didn't reveal any thoughts, and it was impossible to tell whether she was happy or angry. Is this considered torture? After being stared at by Ruehui for 5 minutes, Ryudo finally couldn't help but ask, Madam Ruehui, what's the situation now? President Wu Hong's side is fine. Bring Dunya in and explain to him, and everything will be over. Isn't this the plan you and Colored Glaze made? It went very smoothly, congratulations. No, I'm asking you. What's the situation now? Was it after knowing my identity? What do you plan to do? What do I plan to do? That's a good question. Immediately, Ruehui clapped her hands with a smile and asked in a cheerful tone, What do you think I should do to a brat who colluded with my daughter to scheme against the Kamiyoshi clan and approached me with a fake identity? Ruehui smiled very happily, and because she was a great beauty, her smile was very beautiful. In a situation where Ryudo's side was filled with 15 or 16-year-old girls, when such a great beauty smiled in front of him, that kind of mature charm couldn't help but make his eyes light up. My ass! It was so scary. When Ruehui faced him with such a strange attitude, Ryudo's first reaction was to run away. After all, he couldn't predict how the master of Kamiyoshi would deal with him. Just thinking about it was terrifying. Noticing Ryudo's tense body, Ruehui shook her head and said, Don't be so nervous. To think that you're a real man who dares to say in front of Bunnyball that you like Colored Glaze. He has a high opinion of you, saying that you're the kind of guy who doesn't care about your life when it comes to women. Is that so? I'm honored, although it doesn't sound like a compliment at all. So you really like Colored Glaze? Not just for fun, but to swear that you'll marry her? When he was suddenly asked this question, Ryudo froze. The reason why he, Ryudo Kiryu, had an irreconcilable conflict with the Kamiyoshi clan was because of Colored Glaze. This point, as the master of the clan, Ruehui naturally knew, so her question was somewhat thought-provoking. But even so, Ryudo still took a deep breath and said seriously, That's right, it's like that. Really? However, at this time, Ruehui showed a tacit expression and said with a bitter smile, But it can't be helped. After all, Colored Glaze is too cute. It's normal to be charmed by her. What? In Ryudo's impression, Ruehui was a very strict mother. After hearing those rude words, she would definitely scold him on the spot. Who knew that she would say something like that? So Ryudo couldn't help but open his mouth wide with a look of disbelief. And his expression seemed to have caused Ruehui to misunderstand. She frowned and said, What do you mean? Isn't Colored Glaze cute? No, of course she's cute. But I didn't expect you to. You didn't expect that I, the high and mighty, cold and ruthless, treacherous and cunning Kamiyoshi clan master, would have such a normal side, right? As if she knew what Ryudo was surprised about, Ruehui didn't hesitate to say it for him. Indeed, although Ryudo was embarrassed to say it out loud, he did have such an understanding in his heart. In the game Red Photo Album 2, No Survivors, there weren't many descriptions of Ruehui Kamiyoshi. Strictly speaking, she didn't even appear more than a few times, and she died in the middle of the game. From a player's point of view, she was a very strict mother. And because she shouldered the responsibility of a large family, it was difficult for her to have any human emotions. She gave people the feeling that she was very businesslike and difficult to get close to. But after interacting with Ruehui a few times, Ryudo realized that this woman wasn't like that at all. She seemed to be a daughter lover. Colored Glaze, that child is quite attentive this time. She even dared to use me. Well done. Haha. Although she's been smart since she was young, she doesn't have much drive when she does things. I'm getting impatient watching her from behind, but this time, she's surprisingly motivated. That's great. But when I think about how this motivation came about, because of a man, I really want to kill you. Crack! Ruehui laughed as she clenched her fist. The word Oki appeared on her forehead. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Ryudo also raised the white flag on the spot, and made a French military salute as he charged towards Ruehui's position. I'm just joking. I'm just trying to liven up the atmosphere. Don't mind it so much. I didn't expect you to have such a sense of humor. Although it didn't seem like she was joking, Ryudo couldn't help but secretly complain. Okay, let's get back to the topic. If you really like Colored Glaze, and she doesn't hate how you look, I actually don't object to you two being together. After adjusting her expression, Rue Hui said this without any warning, which shocked Ryudo, who wasn't prepared at all. Is this also a joke? I'm not joking. After all, you've played the Kanzaki family, Heavenly Eye Group, Saitu Guild Hall, and everyone else in this incident. This has fully demonstrated your ability. That's why I can entrust Azurite to you without worry, so that you can deal with the upcoming chaotic world. Suddenly, Rue Hui looked up at the ceiling of the hospital, as if she could see the clear sky above through the layers of floors. The upcoming chaotic world. For ordinary people, Rue Hui's words sounded a bit strange, but Ryudo could completely understand what she meant, because in the next 1 or 2 years, there would indeed be a huge wave that would turn this island into the center of the whirlpool of war. But the question was, how did Rue Hui know? Also, her words sounded like she was entrusting her child to him. Now Ryudo suddenly felt that the situation was not right, and he quickly asked, Mrs. Rue Hui, do you know something that others don't know? Well, do you really want to hear this? Then come closer. Rue Hui narrowed her eyes slightly and motioned Ryudo to sit next to her. Driven by curiosity, Ryudo quickly moved the chair to Rue Hui's side and sat next to his mother-in-law. After sitting down, Rue Hui leaned her head over and took the initiative to put her face close to Ryudo's ear. A fragrance like orchid floated into Ryudo's nose from her body, and at the same time, he could vaguely feel a little warm touch around him. Such a beautiful woman whispered in his ear. This should be a scene that was enough to make people blush and their heart beat faster. However, after hearing Rue Hui's whisper, Ryudo's eyes suddenly widened, because what Rue Hui said to him was, I actually have a terminal illness, and there is less than a year left. Don't tell others. When saying this, Rue Hui's voice was very soft, so soft that the ninjas protecting her couldn't hear it. When Ryudo heard this, he turned his head stiffly. Looking at the smiling face, he didn't know what to say for a moment. Indeed, Rue Hui's words were true, because in the near future, the leader of the Kamiyoshi clan will indeed die at that time. However, the reason mentioned in the game was that Rue Hui's body wasn't good, and the intensification of the struggle with the Heavenly Eye group caused her to be mentally and physically exhausted. So she fell ill. But from what Rue Hui said now, she actually had another illness, and he had been clear about it for a long time. It was because she knew that she would die, so after discovering Ryudo's talent, she came forward to propose this deal. Seeing Ryudo's stiff expression, Rue Hui added, Colored Glaze is good at everything, but she's too naive and not vicious enough. If she wants to gain a foothold in the Kamiyoshi clan and take over my position, she needs a suitable helper. So that's why you chose me? That's right. After I leave, the Kamiyoshi clan will definitely experience some turmoil. Many demons and ghosts that don't dare to come out to cause trouble, when I'm around, will come out from the gutter. When that time comes, I'll need a strong fist to smash their skulls. Although Rue Hui's tone was normal, and she had a smile on her face, when she said the last sentence, there was a hint of viciousness. For a large clan like the Kamiyoshi clan, while they were surrounded by enemies, there were also many messy internal problems. These problems would only surface after Rue Hui died. Logically speaking, the person who should have taken over Rue Hui's position should have been her younger sister, Kaneshiro Jingyan. If Jingyan was still around, there wouldn't be so much trouble. However, the problem was that Jingyan still needed 2 years to step down from her position as the vegetarian king. But Rue Hui couldn't last that long. At most, she only had 1 year left to live. During this 1 year, Colored Glaze had to replace the Kamiyoshi clan leader. Otherwise, the position of clan leader would temporarily fall into the hands of that useless Kamishiro Yoshiyuki. Rue Hui was very clear about her brother's abilities. He couldn't do anything and couldn't eat enough. If he took over the position, he would probably lose all of his family's wealth within a year. Jingyan would definitely be left with a huge mess. That was why Rue Hui hoped that Colored Glaze could receive Ryudo's help. At the very least, during that 1 year, he would help her suppress the demons and ghosts in the clan. In return, Rue Hui would accept Ryudo's fake identity, Li Lan, as her adopted son, and help him enter the Kamiyoshi clan's center of power. Apart from this, she would also provide assistance to the Rulong Group and the Rulong Security Company. She would also guarantee that Ryudo would have the right to marry Colored Glaze 20 years later. It had to be said that Rue Hui's current conditions were truly generous. They were so generous that Ryudo almost couldn't control himself. Chapter 169. From Rue Hui's point of view, the conditions she proposed to Ryudo were extremely generous. Letting Ryudo enter the Kamiyoshi clan as Li Lan to assist Colored Glaze was actually a tacit consent for the two to date. With Rue Hui's tacit consent, Ryudo and Colored Glaze could do whatever they wanted as long as they didn't break the last layer of window paper. It could be said to be quite free, and Rue Hui would also help Ryudo's Rulong Group and Rulong Security Company in all aspects to help these companies quickly grow to industry leaders and even international leaders. As for Dragon Fight, all he needed to do was provide support for a year. That was all. In the year after Rue Hui's death, Ryudo needed to help Colored Glaze stabilize the situation in the Kamiyoshi clan. When Colored Glaze became Queen Jai, he could still continue to hold a certain amount of power in the family as Rue Hui's adopted son, which was equivalent to climbing a huge tree. When Colored Glaze retired 20 years later, Ryudo could also immediately marry her and have children with her. After all, the two would be less than 40 years old at that time, and they still had a few decades to enjoy their lives. Such generous conditions were tempting. After all, Ryudo had to pay very little, but the things he received were so much that it made people speechless. But after listening to Rue Hui's words, Ryudo couldn't help but frown as if he was thinking about something else. His hesitation seemed to be interpreted by Rue Hui as other intentions, so Rue Hui continued to ask, "What? Are there any other conditions? As long as it's not too much, I can promise you. Let's not talk about conditions for now. But I just don't feel good." "What? Not good? What else do you want?" After hearing Ryudo's seemingly insatiable words, Rue Hui couldn't help but frown as if she wanted to advise this young man not to be too greedy. After all, greed was a knife to the head, and it was a hero to be able to endure it. However, Ryudo's next sentence greatly exceeded Rue Hui's expectations. He raised his head and looked at the beautiful woman sitting beside him. He said in a very unhappy tone, "You're still alive, aren't you? Why must everything be based on the premise that you're definitely going to die? Forgive me for not being able to accept a deal based on this premise." Indeed, in the process of this game, Rue Hui would definitely die. This was her fate. But to the current Long Do, fate and whatnot were simply **t in his eyes. After all, if this story progressed according to the normal trajectory of fate, Ryudo's corpse should have been eaten by the fishes in Tokyo Bay by now. How could he still be alive to sit here and chat with someone? So when he saw Rue Hui calmly discussing with him what would happen after she died, Ryudo felt very unhappy. He felt that if he agreed, he would be obeying the arrangement of fate. And after dying so many times, Ryudo also understood a simple principle. Fate could be changed with the help of money. Since Ryudo could change his own fate with the help of money, why couldn't he change Rue Hui's fate? There were so many things in the Krypton shopping center, but none of them could save Rue Hui's life. Ryudo didn't believe it. The heavens wanted Rue Hui Kamishiro to die 1 year later, but the heavens didn't necessarily mean it. You'd have to ask if Ryudo Kiryu agreed. My life is in my hands, not the heavens. The lives of others are also in my hands, not the heavens. The fate of this world is in my hands, not the heavens. This was Ryudo's current attitude towards life. That was why Ryudo asked Rue Hui not to think with the premise that, "I'm definitely going to die." Only then could they continue the discussion. Otherwise, there would be no point in continuing the discussion. After understanding Ryudo's attitude, Rue Hui widened her eyes in shock for the first time in front of him. What is this child talking about? Does he not understand what I'm saying? My illness can't be cured. Rue Hui couldn't be more clear about her own body's condition. After all, She had a heart disease inherited from the Kamiyoshi clan. This disease couldn't be cured by modern medical technology. Most of Rue Hui's ancestors, such as her mother and grandmother, died of this strange disease. The age of death was also around this time. From a certain point of view, this strange disease wasn't completely without benefits. This was because people with this genetic disease also aged much slower than normal people. This caused Rue Hui to look like she was in her early 30s, even though she was over 50 years old. Even at the time of death, she still looked very young. But a disease was a disease. In order to prevent her descendants from being infected by this strange disease, Rue Hui didn't follow her family's wishes after she stepped down from her position as the king. Instead, she quietly relied on modern technology to complete the task of carrying on her ancestral line. She found the most advanced research institute in IVF research. After a detailed analysis of her illness, she completed artificial insemination and embryo transfer surgery. In the end, she finally gave birth to a healthy baby girl. She did IVF not only because she didn't want to find a man, but also because Rue Hui knew that the most advanced IVF technology could prevent the continuation of some families' genetic diseases. In fact, from the situation of Colored Glaze's birth until now, she didn't inherit Rue Hui's heart disease and could grow up healthily and happily. But Colored Glaze was Colored Glaze, and Rue Hui was Rue Hui. Rue Hui had already accepted her fate. She had already prevented her daughter from going down the same path as her in the future. She planned to make enough arrangements so that her daughter could smoothly succeed the throne after her death and become the next king and Kamiyoshi clan lord. However, when Rue Hui thought that she had arranged everything and could wait for her death, the young man in front of her seemed to completely disdain her arrangements and didn't even allow her to die. This strange attitude made Rue Hui dumbfounded for a moment, but she couldn't help but feel a trace of warmth and apology in her heart. Rue Hui hadn't told anyone about her terminal illness. The reason why she told Ryudo the truth was that she wanted to take advantage of his sympathy. You see, I'm about to die. A dying man's words are kind. So shouldn't you agree to this deal and help me protect Colored Glaze? Everything was a scheme. Everything was a part of the deal. Even her own death was part of the scheme. This should have been Rue Hui's personality. But when she saw Ryudo's unsatisfied attitude towards her and decisively rejected the deal, she suddenly felt that she was a bit too much. She actually came to scheme against a hot-blooded young man who was angry about her death. After sighing, Rue Hui could only continue to bite the bullet and say, Ryudo actually. Da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. Just as Rue Hui wanted to continue persuading Ryudo to stop him from thinking about such nonsense, a series of hurried footsteps rushed in from outside. The footsteps sounded light, but the sound of each step was extremely irritated. It was obvious that the owner wasn't in a good mood. So Ryudo and Rue Hui both looked in that direction at the same time. They saw the female lead of their discussion, Colored Glaze Kanzaki, rushing over with a pair of large dark circles under her eyes. She didn't seem to be in a good condition. In fact, it could even be said that she was in a terrible state. Her hair, which should have been neatly combed, had a few lively strands of hair sticking up. Her face looked tired, but it also contained some resentment, anger, and annoyance. Let alone Ryudo. Even Rue Hui had never seen Colored Glaze in such a state before. When Colored Glaze saw the two people sitting in the waiting area, she quickly ran over and said while panting, Mother. Huff, 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 Mother. Mother, this was all my idea. Please don't blame this idiot too much. When she said the word idiot, Colored Glaze couldn't help but glare at Ryudo, as if warning him not to speak nonsense. Because of the sticky dunya incident yesterday, Colored Glaze was so angry that she threw away her phone and left. She also swore that she would cut off all ties with Ryudo and would no longer care about anything related to him. However, after lying in bed and angrily scolding Ryudo for a few hours, Colored Glaze realized that the truth might not be what she heard before. After all, although Ryudo was an old pervert, he wouldn't mess around with dunya when he was being chased by a large group of people. He wasn't that thirsty. From this point of view, It wasn't difficult for Colored Glaze to think that there was a large probability that there was a misunderstanding. Anyway, it wasn't the first time. Ryudo was a professional at misunderstanding. Wherever he went, there would be misunderstandings. When Luli finally realized what was going on, it was already past 8 o'clock. And when Colored Glaze learned that her mother went to the Kansai First Hospital to look for Ryudo, she immediately rushed over. She wanted to say a few good words in front of her mother to help this idiot get away with something. However, what Colored Glaze didn't expect was that her mother didn't intend to punish Ryudo at all. She even planned to entrust her to him. My mother is really ridiculous. But no matter what, Colored Glaze was obviously still very concerned about Ryudo. Seeing her rushing over, she was obviously worried that Ryudo would be torn apart by her own mother on the spot. So after seeing Colored Glaze running over so nervously, Rue Hui showed a subtle expression, and the corner of her mouth raised into a seductive arc. Don't worry, I don't mean to blame Ryudo. In short, let's go in and see President Wu Hong's situation first. After standing up, Rue Hui smiled and nodded at Rue Hui. Then she waved her hand and called Dunya, who was not far away, over. She then led everyone to the hospital ward. While walking, the Kamiyoshi leader asked in a relaxed tone, as if she was chatting with a friend, Ryudo, it seems like today isn't very convenient. How about we continue the conversation next time? Aha, if you're free, I'll accompany you anytime. By the way, do you like Chinese cuisine or French cuisine? Next time, let's chat while we eat. Chinese cuisine. I'm not used to French cuisine, although I haven't eaten it yet. Pfft, you're so funny, like you're joking. Just like that, Rue Hui and Ryudo chatted while walking side by side to the ward area, while Dunya followed behind in fear, not even daring to breathe. As for Colored Glaze, who was left behind and ignored, she was dumbfounded. After all, she had never seen her mother chatting so happily with others. This made Colored Glaze feel like she was the outsider. Mother, you guys are chatting, how can I leave? While walking towards the ward, Colored Glaze couldn't help but have such thoughts in her mind. Chapter 170. Just as Rue Hui entered the ward, President Wu Hong, who was lying on the hospital bed, was secretly drinking bottles of vodka that the nurses wouldn't allow him to drink no matter what. Then, when the group of people pushed the door open, he was so frightened that he spilled the vodka on the bed. Although he was greatly afraid of Rue Hui, who suddenly barged in, President Wu Hong still jumped up excitedly when he saw his precious daughter. Dong! Dunya! That's great, you're really still alive. Crack! His burly figure jumped up from the bed, and the bandage wrapped around his chest cracked open on the spot, and a large amount of blood seeped out from it. Dad! You're actually secretly drinking vodka. Moreover, it was under the condition of being seriously injured. Do you want to die? Originally, Dunya wanted to give her dad a hug when she came in, but when she saw the bottle in his hand, she was so angry that she wanted to hit him on the head with the bottle. Colored Glaze should be very experienced in hitting people on the head with a bottle, but at this moment, she didn't have the energy to care about the stupid father and daughter. After all, Colored Glaze's little head was still thinking about when her mother became so close to Ryudo. What happened when I wasn't here? Why is Ryudo so close to mother? Am I not awake yet? Am I actually in a dream? Colored Glaze was in a daze as she secretly reached out to pinch the hard thigh beside her. After pinching for a while, she realized that Ryudo was looking at her with a puzzled gaze. Colored Glaze? Why are you pinching my thigh? Although it didn't hurt to pinch Colored Glaze's cold and smooth hands, Ryudo still felt that it was a little strange. Moreover, Rue Hui was on the other side. If you want to pinch, find a place where there's no one around and slowly pinch. Why must you pinch in front of mother-in-law? I'm so sorry. When Ryudo gave her a question mark, Colored Glaze's face flushed red. She quickly turned her face to look at the other side, as if she suddenly had a strong interest in the hospital's white ward wall. However, at this moment, Dancing Costume also brought the rescued Hitoshi Kazuma to the ward. After seeing his biological father who just slipped out of prison, Ryudo coolly greeted Kazuma and smiled. Yo, Dad, you're out? The air outside is good, right? It's okay, you've worked hard during this time. When Kazuma saw his son, he walked up to him and patted him on the shoulder, and said with a slightly heavy tone. Originally, Kazuma wanted his son to stay away from extreme Tao, but he didn't expect that his son seemed to be getting better and better at it. He even found someone to rescue him from prison. The younger generation was truly formidable, and he had a talent for doing evil. Suddenly Wu Hong, who was being chased around by Dunya to steal bottles of wine, took the opportunity to run in front of Kazuma. He grabbed his hand and shook it crazily while laughing. Isn't this Kazuma? Long time no see. It's great to see you alive and kicking. I'm alive and kicking, but you seem to have some problems. When he heard President Wu Hong's rough greeting, Ima looked at the bandages on his chest that were bleeding profusely. He hurriedly helped him back to the bed so that he wouldn't bleed to death. We haven't seen each other for many years, right? Aha! We haven't seen each other since the big fight with the drug lords in Siberia more than 10 years ago. Siberia? At that time, you killed 70 or 80 people. No, not as much as you. Not as much as you. You killed so many people that their blood flowed like a river. When people in that area heard your name, they would be scared witless. Not sure if it was to avoid Dunya's pursuit, or if it was because he was really interested in it. Wu Hong and Kazuma began to talk about their old stories in high spirits, and they also picked up the vodka in their hands and gulped it down. On the hospital bed, drinking vodka and bragging with a seriously injured patient, whose chest was bleeding due to the torn bandage, was something that only these two strong men with nerves as thick as steel could do. But while Kazuma chatted with Wu Hong, he explained what happened before, such as why Ryudo wanted to kidnap Dunya, and what the Heavenly Eye group did behind the scenes, etc. Too much. Too much. Those guys dared to do this kind of thing. Boom. After listening to Kazuma's explanation, Wu Hong couldn't help but punch the bed in anger. Wu Hong was indeed a powerful martial artist. This punch directly split the hospital bed from the middle, and then he was trapped in it, and then he was supported by Kazuma and Dunya in a hurry to climb out. Suddenly, Rue Hui also said to him, President Wu Hong, you already know the whole story of this incident. Now you can go to the Saitu Guild Hall to explain the ins and outs, and ask them to stop the pursuit of Ryudo. That's a matter of course. I'll make a call to explain the situation to the elders. By the way, Saitu Takamatori committed suicide an hour ago, so you don't have to call his phone. You can't get through anyway. What? When he heard Rue Hui's words, Wu Hong couldn't help but widen his eyes. The chairman elder of the Saitu Guild Hall, Saitu Takamatori, he was a senior member in the guild hall. Why did he suddenly commit suicide for fear of punishment? Longdo added, from the situation we encountered yesterday, that guy should have hooked up with the Heavenly Eye group a long time ago, including the assassination attempt on you this time. It was also his doing inside. Humph. That smelly old man even wanted the bodyguards to shoot me and Ryudo. He actually committed suicide just like that. It was really too easy for him. If he was still alive, I would have broken his neck with my own hands. When she thought of the horrible scene where she was almost shot with a gun yesterday, Dunya clenched her fists angrily. Speaking of this, her body actually exuded a strong murderous aura, which even scared Wu Hong and Kazuma. Both of them were veterans in the martial arts world. Naturally, they knew that the strong murderous aura on Dong Nia meant that she had taken at least several lives. Otherwise, she wouldn't have given them such a cold feeling. Sigh. Forget it. This was something that couldn't be helped. Originally, Wu Hong didn't want Dunya to step into this bloody and cruel Jianghu society. After all, she was a girl. What was the point of shouting and shouting all day long? Therefore, Wu Hong didn't even teach Dunya martial arts seriously. He only taught her some basic self-defense skills, which were enough to deal with some gangsters. Obviously, yesterday's incident had already dragged her into it. Now it was not a matter of whether Wu Hong was willing or not, but she was already in it. As long as you stepped into this bloody world, there was no chance to leave in this life. Wu Hong had a deep understanding of this, so his face was somewhat ugly. She seemed to understand what Wu Hong was thinking about with a bitter face. She tried to persuade him. Don't think about it too much. Children and grandchildren have their own blessings just like my son. I didn't want him to walk this path in the beginning, but his talent is there, so this is his fate. Life is like this. Wait, Kazuma. Do you remember something that we talked about when we were drinking? It was related to them. Suddenly, Wu Hong looked at Kazuma's face, then looked at his son Ryuto and his daughter Dunya, as if he remembered something. What is it? Is it related to Ryuto and Dunya? Didn't we say that if we have children in the future, if they are all boys, they will be brothers, if they are all girls, they will be sisters, a man and a woman will be husband and wife? Puff. Hearing her father's careless words, not caring that there was a truck full of people in the ward, Dunya couldn't help but spit out the vodka that she secretly drank, spraying it all over Ryuto's face. Loli spray. JPG. For some people with special fetishes, being sprayed by a beautiful loli may be a pleasure, but Ryuto obviously wasn't. Especially when the vodka that was sprayed on his face was extremely high alcohol content. It was literally an eyesore. But Ryuto didn't have time to care about the alcohol on his face. He immediately looked at Kazuma with a strange expression. He wanted to know how his old man would respond. After all, if Ryuto didn't misunderstand, Wu Hong's words were the ancient prenatal marriage. He should have been very close with Kazuma in the past, to the point that they went to Siberia to deal with drug dealers. So when they suddenly talked about this topic, they made such an agreement. The children of the two would be brothers if they were boys, sisters if they were girls, and a man and a woman would be husband and wife. Now that Ryuto and Dunya were a boy and a girl, didn't that mean they suddenly became a prenatal marriage couple? However, under Long Do's dumbstruck gaze, Ima also indifferently replied, there seems to be such a thing. This matter is true. Pa, old man, that's just a joke, right? The two of you probably won't make me and Dunya. What are you saying? Just as Long Do was about to laugh it off, Wu Hong raised his eyebrows and said in a stern tone, a real man will keep his word and dismember his corpse. How can you treat it as a joke? Son-in-law. No, it's a promise that cannot be taken back. What is a promise that can't be dismembered? Who else is your son-in-law? Ryuto instantly panicked when he saw that these two old friends of his were really going to arrange a marriage between him and Dunya, with just a few words. It wasn't that he didn't want to be close to Dunya, but that the Kanzaki mother and daughter were watching. Dunya couldn't help but blush when she heard about this. She picked up the vodka in her hand and gulped it down in an attempt to cover up her embarrassment. Colored Glaze, on the other hand, looked at Ryuto with an icy gaze that seemed to say, breaking all ties. This made Ryuto think that he had done something that would make him a sinner for all eternity. Of course, no matter how icy Colored Glaze's gaze was, it wasn't as terrifying as Rue Huey's smile. Rue Huey's smile was fake, but her eyes weren't smiling. However, she wasn't looking at Ryuto. Instead, she was looking at Dunya. It seemed like she was thinking about how to toss this bear loli to Siberia to plant potatoes. But no matter what, after this farce ended, the kidnapping incident, that had lasted for several days, finally came to an end. From tomorrow onwards, Ryuto would be able to return to his daily life. Let's hope that was the case. Chapter 171. What was a daily routine? Everyone had a different definition of a daily routine. Some people's daily routine was to train in school and study every day. Some people's daily necessities were like rice, oil, and salt. In order to support their families, they had to run around everywhere. Some people's daily routine was to fight and kill, and would rot in the gutters at any time. For Ryuto, the so-called daily routine was, he didn't have a daily routine. It was early in the morning a week after the Dunya kidnapping incident. Early in the morning, before he went to school, Long Do went to the training ground he had prepared at home as usual. There he met a burly man. You're here. The man didn't even turn his head, and said with his back facing him, sorry, I shouldn't have come. Ryuto frowned when he saw the man. He took a step back, and looked like he was going to run away at any time. The man didn't turn his head, But he seemed to have sensed Ryudo's intention. So he continued, "You can't run away. Remember, I'm your father. Don't you feel like you're cursing me? If others say it, then it's cursing. If I say it, then it's not cursing because it's the truth." The man turned his head and stared at Ryudo with a pair of sharp eyes. But it was true. In this world, the only person who could use the words, "I'm your father," to talk to Ryudo was the current boss of the Rulon Group, Hitoshi Kazuma. After the prison break a week ago, Kazuma was temporarily free and returned to the Rulon Group headquarters. From this perspective, Ryudo should be the final winner. As for the loser, it was naturally the Heavenly Eye Group, or rather the Secret Department Deputy Head Misty Ghost. After all, on the morning of the 1 billion bounty incident, the police found Misty Ghost's body in the detention room, where Kazuma was. It was said that when the fog ghost was discovered, it had died in a very miserable state. It was as if someone had used an exhaust pipe to inject poison into its body. And the cause of his death wasn't even poison. Instead, his internal organs were blown up by poisonous gas while he was still alive. However, no matter how horrible the fog ghost's death was, Ima, who escaped from prison, was still a criminal. Furthermore, this time, he had escaped from prison, which made his crimes even worse. At that time, when the warden of the Nest Duck prison discovered that Ima had escaped, he was so angry that he almost vomited blood on the spot. He swore that he would arrest this man and bring him to justice. Therefore, the headquarters of the Dragon Group had been searched several times. But because Ima was hiding in the secret room, the police could not find him no matter how hard they tried. However, Ima was now on the wanted list. He belonged to the category of extremely evil and wanted criminals. If he was caught again, he would not be able to come out for the rest of his life. Therefore, after the discussion between Ryudo and Ruehue, they decided to let Ima go abroad for the time being. After a period of time, he would change his appearance and return to Tokyo with a new identity. In this way, Ima would soon take a plane to a foreign country. He would temporarily leave this noisy big city and go outside to cultivate. However, before this, Ima had something that he had to do as a father no matter what. Early in the morning, Ima caught his son who was about to come out to practice martial arts. He asked seriously, "You hid for so long because you didn't want me to see your last mock exam paper. Did you do badly?" "That's right." Ima caught Ryudo early in the morning to see how his recent academic results were. Although Ryudo was a powerful young master, and not long ago, he became a wanted criminal in the $1 billion underground world, and a kidnapper who appeared on TV, this still didn't change his identity as a glorious high school student. Since he was a high school student, he naturally had to put in enough effort in his studies, and the result of his hard work was his exam results. However, when Ima asked about his exam results, Ryudo didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How should he describe it? Ever since Ryudo came to this world, he didn't do anything that a high school student should do. Now that he was suddenly being chased by his father to see his exam paper, this kind of ordinary daily life made Ryudo feel that it was very abnormal, and even a little magical. It was like a hot-blooded youth manga that was filled with fighting, conspiracies, and adventures. After the protagonists fought 300 rounds with the evil organization, blood flowed like a river. They turned around and began to discuss which subject to take the next day's exam. Ryudo Kiryu killed a few hundred people a week ago, dealt with the top assassins of the underground world, and was even blown up into the sky by a rocket. In the end, I rescued my father, who was the leader of the underground world, from prison. But after only a week, my dad was already clamoring to see my exam results. This overly strange scene was very hard to accept. It was like a fantastic novel written by Yunyan, but it was indeed reality. Facing Ima's serious expression, Ryudo could only bitterly smile and say, "That, can I not look at it? You are going to leave soon. Can't you leave with a happy mood? If I know that you didn't put in any effort in your studies, how can I leave with a happy mood?" "No, Dad, we are in Extreme Dao." "Extreme Dao? Isn't it enough to know how to write your own name?" "Ridiculous. If a hooligan doesn't study, he will forever be a hooligan. never able to make a name for himself. Then have you studied? Don't change the topic. We are talking about you. Quickly take out the exam results from last time. Ima was stunned for a moment, then quickly changed the topic, and looked at Ryuto with the "I am your father" look. Seeing that the group leader was so serious, Ryuto could only bitterly smile and take out the exam results from last time from the drawer in his room. When Ima saw the results, he thought that there was something wrong with his eyes. Are these results serious? Why are all the scores in single digits? That cough. Actually, the high school exam results have changed to a full score system. Do you think I am an idiot? And even if it was a full score of 10, you still didn't pass a single subject. After angrily staring at Ryuto, Ima began to carefully examine the test paper in his hand. Modern Mandarin, 3 points. Modern Society, 5 points. Mathematics, 4 points. Basic Physics, 1 point. Basic Chemistry, 0 points. When he saw the last 0 points, Tong Sheng Ima, this middle-aged man who had spent half his life in a rain of bullets and a rain of blood, finally had his defense broken. I spent so much effort to send you to Takuri First High. You are really worthy of me. Thanks for the compliment. I am not complimenting you. How can you be so shameless? If there was something that made Ima even angrier, it was that Ryuto did not seem to care about it at all. Of course, Ryuto really did not care about it. Although he was a high school student, he definitely did not care about the subjects in school. What a joke! I am the ultimate combination of a transmigrator and a high school student. I am here to save the world or destroy the world, okay? How could he just stay at a certain place and study? This is too much of a waste of talent. But although Ryuto thought this way, Ima obviously did not think so. Looking at his smiling son, Ima could not help but angrily say, "Listen, if you don't pass the next exam, I will kick you out of Rulong Group." What? Are you threatening me? So what if I threaten you? I, Ryuto Kiryu, am amenable to coaxing but not coercion. If you are tougher than me, I will. You will? I will. I will accept your threat. Why are you shouting so loudly? After showing an attitude of superiority, Ryuto followed the attitude of a spiritual Frenchman and chose to surrender. He promised Ima that he would pass the next exam. However, Ryuto usually slept in class and did not even open a book after studying for so long. Of course, he could not pass the exam based on his own ability. Therefore, Ryuto found his life coach at noon that day. Dora-colored glaze. The exam is in 5 days. Quickly think of a way. What the hell is Dora-colored glaze? I don't eat dorayaki. After being asked by Ryuto, the colored glaze, who was elegantly eating on the garden cushion, suddenly had a drop of cold sweat on her forehead. But she still raised her head and said in a cold tone, "Why don't you ask your cute fiancé for this kind of thing?" Ever since she found out Ryuto and Dunya had an arranged marriage a week ago, the colored glaze's attitude towards him was very cold. Although Ryuto still diligently came to eat with the colored glaze's tantrum was not something that could be resolved in a short period of time. It could be said that it was quite awkward. But when he heard the colored glaze's retort, Ryuto shamelessly replied, "I actually asked Dunya if she could help me with my studies. And then I realized that she is in her first year of high school, and I am in my second year. She hasn't learned what I am learning. How can she help me?" Speaking up to here, Long Do spread out his hands and put on a helpless expression. Dunya usually looked silly, but surprisingly, her academic performance was not bad. She was one of the top students in her first year. After all, after coming to Tokyo, she studied at the White Lotus Female Academy, which was a completely closed-off school. Usually, there was nothing to do except study. It would be strange if her grades were not good. But the problem was that no matter how good Dunya's grades were, it could not change the fact that she was in her first year, and Ryuto was in his second year. Therefore, the only people who could help Ryuto were the colored glaze and Yunyen. He grabbed onto the colored glaze and madly begged. In the end, under Ryuto's repeated pleas, the colored glaze finally softened. "Since you've begged me to this extent, it's not like I can't teach you." Oh, Okay. Don't be in a hurry. In short, let's see how your foundation is. If it's too bad, I can't help. Oh, this is my last exam paper, please take a look. In fact, Colored Glaze was quite confident in teaching others. After all, she was very smart. If she really wanted to teach, she could achieve a better result than a teacher. However, after looking at the Dragon Duel test paper, Leoli regretted it. Because she couldn't imagine that this was something that could be written by a human. Even a dog would score better than this if it was scratched a few times. Chapter 172. As a young master, the previous Ryudo didn't study much since he was young. He couldn't even recognize all 28 English letters. He was only one step away from being illiterate. Although his soul was transmigrated, the Ryudo after transmigrating was even less interested in high school level studies. After all, he knew that in 2 years this broken island would sink. Who would care about how many points he got on the exam? He could just deal with it. However, the Colored Glaze obviously didn't know about Ryudo's situation, so she didn't think this idiot would be this bad. After reading Ryudo's exam, the Colored Glaze pondered for a long time before carefully asking, "Did you do these exam papers seriously? Or did you just write them casually?" "I forgot. Anyway, I slept most of the time during the exam." "So did you write it seriously?" "I wrote my name seriously. I'm quite confident in writing my name." Suddenly, Ryudo proudly puffed out his chest and put on a dignified and upright posture. "For a high school student, I don't think this is much of an honor. How did you get into this school before?" Feeling his inexplicable confidence, the Colored Glaze could only helplessly cover her face. She originally thought that Ryudo was able to get into the Dori First High School because he had done some hard work. Now it seemed like he didn't even have the ability to reach the level of an elementary school student. "That year's entrance exam, I think I threatened the person next to me to write the answers. Other than my name, I didn't write anything else. Is the invigilator useless? Why didn't he do anything?" "It's probably because I've communicated with him beforehand." "Communicated? How did you communicate? Did you bribe him?" "I didn't bribe him. I just told him that if he dared to interfere, he should be careful when walking at night after school to avoid being hacked to death. Of course that was wrong, but I won't do it again. As expected of a bastard. How did I get so close to this guy? But he seems to be much better now." Hearing this, Colored Glaze carefully looked at Ryudo, who had a strange expression on his face. Although Ryudo had indeed done such a thing before, Colored Glaze felt that he wasn't someone who would do such a thing now. It was as if after the Colored Glaze kidnapping incident, Ryudo had completely changed. In the past, Ryudo was indeed a scumbag who would threaten his deskmate to help him write the test papers. He also threatened the invigilator to not interfere, or else he would be hacked to death. However, the current Ryudo was not that kind of person. When he encountered problems during exams, he would only look for someone to help him with his grades. He would not think of those unorthodox methods. However, this was to be expected. After all, the previous Ryudo and the current Ryudo only had the same body, but their souls were two completely different people. The previous Ryudo Kiryu was a scumbag villain, so it was normal for him to do all kinds of hooligan acts. He even thought that the Colored Glaze was definitely a scumbag, who deserved to be thrown out to feed the fish. Therefore, Colored Glaze was actually quite happy with the current extreme Dao young master, who did not hesitate to ask her for help instead of choosing to walk the unorthodox path. "Oh right." At this time, Ryudo suddenly reached out and patted his head. He smiled and said to Colored Glaze, "I can't threaten others to help me write the test papers or threaten the invigilator. But stealing the test papers shouldn't be a problem, right?" In Ryudo's view, threatening normal people was not right. However, stealing the test papers to prepare the answers in advance and copying them during the exam was fine. This was Ryudo, a man with a flexible moral bottom line. "Fine. Let's pretend I didn't think of anything just now." Seeing Ryudo, who suddenly thought of stealing the test papers and laughed heartily, Colored Glaze immediately threw the thought of, "I kind of like him," into the trash can. She looked at him with eyes full of contempt. Of course, Ryudo did not plan to pay attention to Colored Glaze's contempt. After all, in his view, he was only going to steal the test papers and would not hurt anyone. Was there anything that he could not do? Definitely not. What? This kind of action affected the fairness of the exam? Please. Saying this to an extreme Dao young master, who killed hundreds of people? Would he even care about this? Therefore, Ryudo quietly sneaked into the staff room of Kyoto First High School on the night of the 4th day. For an old fox like him who once sneaked into the heavily guarded Tokyo Emperor Hotel, a mere high school staff room was not much more difficult than his own backyard. He's here with the lockpick. Around midnight, Ryudo wore a black tight suit that he usually wore to rob hooligans. After climbing over the school wall, he swaggered in. Arriving at the door of the staff room that he investigated beforehand, Ryudo took out the hooligan lockpick that he bought from the mall and opened the door. He took 2 steps into the room and locked the door from the inside. The staff room was quiet in the middle of the night. Not a single sound could be heard. Ryudo walked with almost inaudible demonic steps towards the depths of the staff room. He walked towards the safe that was locked with a large pile of unopened test papers. According to Ryudo's investigation, Kyoto First High School was the most famous high school in Tokyo, so the exam supervision here was quite strict. All the test papers were created using a standalone computer that was not connected to the internet. After creating the test papers, they were printed on the spot in their own printing room. After printing, they were stored in the safe. As for the password of the safe, only a few high-level school leaders knew about it. This arrangement naturally minimized the possibility of the test papers being leaked. But for Ryudo, obtaining the password was not a very complicated matter. After all, he had Sensible, who was an omnipotent helper. Through monitoring the phones and computers of the school leaders, Sensible had intercepted the password of the safe yesterday. It seemed that one of the vice principals was afraid that he would forget, and recorded it in a memo on his phone. Just like this, Ryudo quietly walked over to the safe. He bent down and was about to twist the password lock to take out the test papers inside. Tap, tap, tap. But at this moment, 2 sets of footsteps came from outside the staff room. Moreover, it was the kind that was coming towards him. I was discovered. No way. Generally speaking, it was unlikely that someone would come to the staff room to work in the middle of the night. So when Ryudo heard the footsteps, he immediately frowned. His whole body slid to the side and hid under the table not far away. While a creak, accompanied by the sound of the key turning and the slight sound of the door being pushed open, the 2 figures, one old and one young, quietly walked in. Because the person walking in front was holding a small lantern, Ryudo, who was hiding in the dark, could clearly see their appearance. The balding middle-aged man walking in front was wearing a suit and had a timid look. Ryudo remembered that he seemed to be the vice principal of Kyoto First High School, because his balding head was quite conspicuous. The young man behind was about the same age as Ryudo. His handsome face was full of arrogance and an overbearing expression. It was obvious that he was not a good person. When the vice principal brought the young man to the place where the safe was placed, he could not help but turn his head and ask, "That, young Master Wada, do you really want to do this?" From his tone, the vice principal seemed to have a lot of respect for the young man behind him. It was obvious that the young Master Wada had an extraordinary background. "Nonsense, if I ask you to open it, then open it. Isn't it just a few broken test papers? Just take it out." "But if this test paper is leaked out, old man, if I don't get full marks on tomorrow's test and can't use this score to ask for praise from my aunt, guess what will happen to you?" When he said the word aunt, the corner of Wada's mouth raised. He reached out and patted the vice principal's bald head. It was as if he did not see him as a person at all. Sigh. There was no other way. Although the vice principal was obviously not willing to help this guy steal the test papers, the situation was better than him. He could only twist the password lock and slowly find the test papers inside. Oh, so they were in the same profession. At this moment, Ryudo knew why this young Master Wada came here. It seemed like he came for the test papers, But it was obvious that his style of doing things was much more arrogant than Ryudo. He actually threatened the vice principal to steal the test papers for him? What kind of situation was this? Little Hutian. Aunt. Could it be that this guy's aunt was some important person? After hearing this name, Longdo quietly picked up his phone, gently typed in this surname on his phone, and began to search for it. In this era of information explosion, if young Master Wada's aunt was really something, then it should not be hard to find her on the phone. Found it. The moment Ryudo typed in the surname Wada, the first person that popped up on the search page was someone related to this young master. The important person in the first row of the Wada surname was called Wadaya. She was the wife of the 126th emperor, Emperor Wuda. She was the current empress. And this Wadaya's father, Wadahung, was the current permanent representative of the United Nations and the chief judge of the International Court of Justice. She also had a nephew called Wada Wada. He should be the one who threatened the vice principal to steal the test papers. So that's why. I was wondering why he was so arrogant. So he is a relative of the emperor. Seeing the vice principal nervously take out the test papers one by one and give them to young Master Wada, Ryudo could not help but sneer. Indeed, young Master Wada's family background could be said to be a real noble family. His family had been in politics for many years and was related to the royal family by marriage. Whether it was background or reputation, they were all very good. But although this guy was arrogant and despotic, as long as he did not provoke Ryudo, he could not be bothered with this kind of person. He simply hid at the side and did not make a sound, silently waiting for these two guys to leave. Who knew that when Wada received the test papers, he could not help but curse. F***CK Ryudo Kiryu. If it was not for that scum, I would not have to waste time. Tui. Chapter 173. What? Why did he suddenly bring me along? Originally, Ryudo was still lying on the side, waiting for these two guys to leave before stealing the test papers. However, he did not expect to hear his name from Kawada Tamaki's mouth. What's more, this guy didn't even say anything nice. Instead, he directly scolded him. The most important thing was that Kawada Tamaki's theft of the test papers seemed to have something to do with Ryudo. It was as if Ryudo was not there, he would not have to steal the test papers. What was going on? After hearing this, Ryudo was suddenly puzzled. But he didn't have to think about it anymore, because the young master had very honestly told him the reason why he hated Longdo. And he even brought another person along with him. And that Yunyan and Sakudri as well. She usually doesn't have any reaction to me, but she actually got so close to that delinquent. She's simply a brainless, big-breasted bitch with no eyes. It was as if he didn't feel satisfied after scolding senior sister Yunyan, so he started scolding her as well. Hearing this, Longdo clenched his fists, but he quickly realized why Konoha and Tanaki were talking so much about this and that. Obviously, Kawada Tamaki should have pursued Yunyan. After all, Yunyan was so beautiful and charming. It would be unrealistic if there were not many people in the school who had thoughts about her. However, before meeting Ryudo, Yunyan maintained a very polite distance from all the boys. She absolutely did not give anyone any chance to get close to her, including Kawada Tamaki, a relative of the emperor. Although Kawada Tamaki was very angry about this, Yunyan's identity and family background were different from ordinary people. Even if he was a relative of the emperor and a political family, he could not do anything to her. He could only pretend to be carefree and forget about this matter. But not long after Kawada Tamaki forgot about this matter, there was a rumor that Yunyan and Ryudo Kiryu were having an affair. Even the scene of them walking into the campus side by side was taken and posted on the internet. It could be said that these were not rumors, but irrefutable evidence. From the photo, even if Yunyan and Ryudo were not in a relationship, they were at least closer than ordinary friends. In other words, Yunyan did not reject this man. After learning about this, Kawatanaki was so angry that he smashed his phone on the spot. Are you kidding me? I'm a member of the royal family, and you don't have any reaction at all. Instead, you're with a hoodlum. Aren't you looking down on me? Am I not as good as Ryudo Kiryu, that stinky dog? As the saying goes, don't worry about scarcity, but worry about inequality. If everyone could not pursue union, then forget it. There was nothing wrong with being a flower on a high mountain. Just let Union quietly become the goddess in everyone's heart. But the problem was that others could not pursue her. But Ryudo, that stinky hoodlum, could. Didn't this mean that the goddess in Kawada Tamaki's heart had been taken by the blonde? Who would be able to tolerate this? In Kawada Tamaki's view, the Kyoto in Japan was a group of people who were used by politicians like him. They were a group of creatures that could be thrown away after using them. They were creatures on the same level as watchdogs. Now the young master of the Rulon group actually dared to steal the woman he liked. And he really did. How could he swallow this if he did not kill him? Therefore, Kawada Tamaki found his aunt, the current Empress Kawada Tamaki, and hoped that she could use her connections to deal with the Rulon group. At least, she could throw Ryudo into prison to pick up soap. However, the shrewd and capable aunt helplessly replied, Tamaki, you're not young anymore. You're always thinking about those messy things. How are you going to inherit the family business in the future? Who said that I'm always thinking about your messy things? I don't know how good my grades are. Inheriting the family business will definitely not be a problem. Alright then. When I was in the Dori First High School, I scored full marks in all subjects. If you can reach my level in the next exam, then you can do whatever you want with that hoodlum. Full marks in all subjects? No problem, it's not difficult at all. Therefore, after Kawada Tamaki gave a military order in front of his aunt, he turned around and began to threaten the vice principal to steal the exam papers. After all, he didn't look like someone who usually studied. How could he possibly get full marks in all subjects? Therefore, he could only use some unorthodox means. However, just as Kawada Tamaki was about to leave after stealing the exam papers, a dark figure of justice emerged from behind a table not far away. Little bastard, you're on the wrong path. Looking at the two figures leaving, Ryudo narrowed his eyes and quietly followed them out. If Kawada Tamaki only scolded Ryudo, then it didn't matter how much he scolded. Ryudo didn't care about this little master's attitude, but the problem was that he also scolded Yunyen, which made Ryudo feel very uncomfortable. It's fine if you scold me, but scolding my girlfriend, scolding my future wife? If I don't pull out your tongue and tie it, are you still human? Therefore, just as Kawada Tamaki and the vice principal left the school gate, Ryudo's figure appeared behind them like a ghost. This is a robbery, hand over all your things. Before Kawada Tamaki could react, a sharp military knife had been placed on his neck, and at the same time, a hoarse voice sounded. It was now midnight, and there were very few pedestrians in the surrounding area. It was the perfect time for a robbery. Robbery! Robbery! Spare! Spare my life! After realizing that he was robbed, the vice principal next to him suddenly trembled and shouted at the top of his voice. But Kawada Tamaki didn't panic at all. He took out his wallet and watch, handed them to the vice principal, and said proudly, "Take it, that's all." Money was just a worldly possession. Since he encountered a robbery, he would just give it to him. In any case, this stupid thief would be caught early in the morning, and everything would be taken back without being touched. After all, Kawada Tamaki was a noble member of the royal family, and a politician's family. If he was robbed, the police would definitely send a large number of police officers to investigate. How could this stupid thief escape? Therefore, in Kawada Tamaki's view, the guy who dared to rob him was a complete idiot, who didn't even know who he provoked. Seeing his calm and arrogant attitude, Ryudo couldn't help but laugh. "Bastard, you seem to be very good at giving money. Are you used to being robbed by your father? If you think so, then so be it. But you can't just take out your wallet and watch. The clothes you're wearing look quite valuable. Take them off immediately." "Huh, the clothes I'm wearing? No way, this guy even wants clothes. Is he so poor that he's crazy?" After hearing this sentence, Kawada Tamaki looked down at the expensive suit on his body, gritted his teeth and said angrily, "Okay, if you like it, I'll give it to you." As the young master of the royal family, When did Kawada Tamaki suffer like this? But in this case, he could only take off his suit jacket and hand it over with trembling hands. But Ryudo didn't even look at his suit jacket, but continued to sneer. What else? Continue to take it off. Continue to take it off? My shirt is worth a lot. If I say it's worth a lot, then it's worth a lot. Take off your shirt and trousers, hurry up. You. Damn it. Do you know who you're talking to? Under such pressure, Kawada Tamaki finally couldn't take it anymore. He turned his head and shouted angrily at the masked robber. But Ryudo pretended not to know and asked, I don't know, who are you? I'm the nephew of the current Empress, Kawada Tamaki, the permanent representative of the United Nations, and the Chief Justice of the International Court of Justice. Kawada Tamaki is my grandfather. Really? Don't scare me, I'm so scared. Are you scared now? Let me go now, I can. Slap. Without waiting for Kawada Tamaki to finish his words, Ryudo directly slapped him in the face. Although he didn't use any strength, the strength of his LV4 physique made Kawada Tamaki dumbfounded, and his face quickly swelled up like a pig's head. I was hit. I was hit by a stinky hooligan? Suddenly, Kawada Tamaki reached out to cover his swollen face and scolded in a hysterical tone. Bastard! How dare you hit me? I'll kill you all. Slap. Before he could finish his words, Ryudo slapped him again. After the slap he sneered. Bastard, 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 you're a Brahmin-born noble, right? What are you pretending for, dog? How dare you? I'm the current emperor's. Emperor your head. Slap. Before he finished speaking, another slap came. My grandfather is the Chief Justice of the International Court of Justice. Chief your head. Slap, slap. This time it was 2 slaps left and right. In short, for every sentence Kawada Tamaki said, Ryudo slapped him. The more he said, the more he slapped him. This exaggerated situation made the bald middle-aged man tremble uncontrollably. He couldn't imagine that there was someone in the world who dared to do such a thing to Master Kawada. He was the nephew of the current empress, and Kawada Tamaki was a political family with extraordinary influence in the country. How could he bear to hit him on the street? However, Longdo didn't care about this. In his opinion, it was already disgusting enough for this group of trash from the old era to survive until today. How dare they act so pretentious in front of him? Don't they know what kind of trash they are? So after dozens of slaps in a row, slowly beating Kawada Tamaki until he almost fainted, Ryudo snorted coldly and put his wallet, watch, and stolen exam papers in his pocket. Before leaving, Ryudo finally pulled Kawada Tamaki's hair and said contemptuously, Remember, the name of the only emperor of Japan is Uncle Sam. You in this country are just Uncle Sam's dogs. Don't always think so highly of yourself, trash. After saying this, Ryudo casually spat on his face, left him and swaggered away. Under the gaze of the bald man who was scared to the point of peeing, he disappeared into the darkness. Chapter 174. Ryudo didn't care much about the incident of beating up a member of the royal family tonight. Anyway, he already beat him up, and he is a generous person. He has already forgiven Kobadanaki. As long as that guy doesn't appear in front of him again, everyone will just pretend that nothing happened. But the next morning, Rue Hui called Ryudo's mobile phone. Mrs. Rue Hui, what's wrong? Do you want to find someone to drink tea with? But I have an exam today. During this period of time, Rue Hui would sometimes call Longdo to chat or drink tea with him. But after the call was connected, Rue Hui's tone was very serious, and it didn't sound like she was chatting. She asked faintly, Last night, Kobadanaki was beaten up by an unknown robber at the gate of your school. This matter has something to do with you, right? Did I make any mistakes? Ryudo was a little surprised by the content of Rue Hui's call. After all, he thought that he did things very cleanly and shouldn't leave any clues. You don't need to make any mistakes. After all, it's hard to think of a second person who can do this kind of thing except for you. When she heard Ryudo's response, the corner of Rue Hui's mouth twitched slightly. Obviously, she was speechless. After Kobadanaki was beaten unconscious yesterday, the bald middle-aged vice principal immediately called an ambulance to send him to the hospital. Naturally, he also immediately informed Kobutanaki's family, Rue Hui, as the leader of the Kamiyoshi clan. And the Kamiyoshi clan and the royal family were distant relatives. Naturally, she quickly received the specific information about this matter. After hearing the vice principal's dictation, Rue Hui immediately reacted. Yesterday, the man in black didn't cause trouble for Kobutanaki for money. He just wanted to find trouble with him. After a little investigation, Rue Hui found out that Kobutanaki once pursued Yunyen, and because of this matter, he was quite resentful of Ryudo Kiryu. In other words, this guy was Ryudo's enemy, and everything made sense. Only a bold guy like Ryudo would dare to slap a relative of the royal family, like a dog on this small island. Especially the last sentence, "The name of the only emperor of Japan is Uncle Sam," was repeated by the vice principal, which directly caused the entire royal family to explode. They are now crazily putting pressure on the cabinet office, demanding that the Metropolitan Police Department catch the criminal within a day. So the sirens in Tokyo are especially loud today. Ha ha ha, you managed to break through his defenses? But can they find me? That's unlikely. You did it very cleanly, and it's hard to find the culprit. But it's better if you don't go out in the same outfit as before. After all, Owada won't let it go so easily. Obviously, Rue Hui was on Ryudo's side in this matter. Or rather, she didn't like the royal family, and those politicians who didn't know what they were doing. They obviously didn't have any ability, yet they liked to point fingers. It was quite disgusting. Owada-ya, the current Empress Wuda, I heard that she doesn't seem to be in a good mental state. She was diagnosed with adjustment disorder? In fact, after Ryudo returned home yesterday, he also investigated some information about the royal family, especially Owada-ya's aunt Owada-ya. The result was very unexpected, because in the eyes of the people, Owada-ya was not a domineering empress, but a pitiful person with a sad color. It was said that the empress didn't want to marry into the royal family at first. It was the current Emperor Wuda who fell in love with her at first sight at a concert when he was young. He pursued her and forced her to give up her career and enter the royal family. After marrying into the royal family, she also suffered from mental illness because of all kinds of difficult experiences. It sounded like a very pitiful woman. However, when Rue Hui heard Ryudo's words, she snorted disdainfully. She sneered, "Are you kidding me? That woman has mental illness? Do you know what she used to do? If I remember correctly, she was a diplomat? Yes, that woman was smart since she was young. When she was 18 years old, she was proficient in many foreign languages and was admitted to Harvard University. After she returned, she studied for a master's degree in law and passed the diplomat qualification exam. She was an expert in Japanese-American relations and was once considered the most promising female diplomat in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It was well known that the boundary between diplomat and spy was quite blurred. In Japan, there was no boundary at all. Diplomats were basically trained according to the template of spies. To be called the most promising diplomat in the whole country, Owada-ya's ability was naturally quite outstanding. She was definitely the type that had nothing to do with weak women. So you're saying that she's faking her illness? To gain sympathy? Not only was her illness faked, but her experience was also faked. You don't think that Emperor Wuda fell in love with her at first sight when he was young, right? As far as I know, when the woman was studying at Harvard University, this matter was already in the process of being arranged. When she said the words Harvard University, Rue Hui intentionally or unintentionally emphasized her tone, obviously hinting at the power behind it. So that's how it is. This queen was arranged by Uncle Sam to be a dog leash for the royal family. Compared to ordinary Japanese, Ryudo obviously had a more comprehensive understanding of the situation of this country, and it was easier for him to understand all the reasons. In essence, Japan was not a country, but something similar to a colony. And the one who really controlled everything after the separation was Uncle Sam American, the real mastermind behind the scenes. Regarding this, The upper echelons of Japan and the royal family naturally had a clear understanding of it. But at the same time, they often dreamed of getting rid of the master's control. Only domestic dogs could be called dogs. If they were raised freely, they would become wild dogs, and they might bite back. In order to not let their dogs become wild dogs, Uncle Sam naturally would not be soft-hearted. Instead, he would restrict this country in all aspects, trying to make their broken spine never to be reconnected. And Owadaya, the queen, was one of the dog leashes that restricted the royal family. Behind her stood not only her own family, but also the strongest and most evil country. Therefore, Rue Hui told Ryudo to be careful of this woman, because not only was she not as simple as she looked on the surface, but she was even more vicious than expected. But having said that, the royal family could not retaliate against Ryudo. After all, there was no evidence. But if evidence was really found, then the situation on Ryudo's side would be quite troublesome. And even Rue Hui might not be able to help him solve the problem. In short, you should be careful. Even if someone suspects you, never admit it. Okay, I'm not stupid. Why would I admit this kind of thing? Who knows, even if you do something outrageous, I won't be surprised. After sighing, Rue Hui hung up the phone, and Ryudo went to the Dori First High School, as usual to prepare for today's exam, because he already got the test paper yesterday, and he found the intellectual in the Rulong group overnight to help him establish a good relationship. Ryudo was quite confident about this exam. However, just after he finished a day of exams and returned to the headquarters, Consultant Fujiki sent him a piece of bad news. Now that Kazuma was on a plane to a foreign country, most of the daily organizational affairs were handed over to Consultant Fujiki. But this time, when Consultant Fujiki came to Ryudo, his face was very ugly. "Young master, there is something I must report to you." "What is it?" "The Metropolitan Police Department sent a notice, asking us to assist in providing the physical characteristics and voice information of all young men in the organization. Not one less." "What?" After hearing this sudden notice, Ryudo couldn't help but frown. Providing the physical characteristics and voice information of all young men, at a glance, it was obvious that they were looking for someone, and they were looking for someone who met certain conditions. This morning, Rue Hui warned that the royal family put pressure on the cabinet office. The Metropolitan Police Department was a working organization under the cabinet office, and it was obvious that this matter was related to the Owada incident yesterday. Ryudo didn't expect that the queen would use various means to dig out the criminal, but he didn't expect them to be so ruthless. From the situation learned by Consultant Fujiki, they didn't ask the Rulong group to provide the information of the person, but they asked all the Kyoto and various organizations in the Tokyo area to provide similar assistance. In other words, they were now crazy to the point that they planned to dig up the entire Tokyo to dig out the person who did this. If it was just beating up Owada, the royal family shouldn't be so furious. In the end, they should be broken by Ryudo's words. The name of the only emperor of Japan is Uncle Sam. Saying such words to a relative of the royal family was almost like slapping the entire royal family in the face, and it was the kind of slapping that resounded loudly from both sides. Even if they were mascots, they had to be mascots representing a country. The face wasn't something that could be slapped, except for Uncle Sam. Although there were no clues of the criminal so far, from the judgment of professionals, they should be sure that it was done by the underground society, including the Kyoto. Therefore, the Metropolitan Police Department began to use this extreme method to try to dig out the criminal from the tens of millions of people in Tokyo. But the Metropolitan Police Department knows that this kind of thing is against the rules, right? If we don't give them the information, what can they do? The message from the other side is, if we don't cooperate, they will start to wipe out all kinds of people, guaranteeing that our lives will be more difficult day by day. After hearing Consultant Fujiki's words, Ryudo couldn't help but sneer. What a good Owada Empress, what a good cabinet office, what a good Metropolitan Police Department. If they really started to use all kinds of methods to deal with the Kyoto, there weren't many people who could withstand it. After all, Underground organizations couldn't be enemies with a serious state government. State government. If you want to trouble me, then come. I'll play with you guys and see who is the unlucky one in the end. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.